I know we spoke about this when we met a couple of weeks ago, but why Finland?
Right, why Finland? Well, first, mistake. Like, no, true. Like, it was pure random thing. Like,
I'll try to bring it a bit closer just in case. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was, well, I applied for this Erasmus program, right, with university. I lived in Berlin before, so
Okay.
I wanted to go for 1 semester abroad somewhere to study, and then I had very good grade. I had best grade of class, so I was like, okay, I'm sure I'm gonna go where I want. And you can put these 3 choices, so in case you don't get the first one, you get to the second, and if not, you don't get the second, you get to the third one.
Right.
So I thought, well, I researched at the university I wanted. I want to go to Norway, right? There was a very nice university. I checked the ranking and everything, and I was like, okay, that's a place where I can learn the best, so I'm gonna go there.
Right.
And well, then I decided to fill in the second and the third place just because why not, right? Better to do it. And I just asked the lady there at the office when I gave in the thing, like, actually, I think she suggested me to fill in also the other field, and I was like, well, okay, what do you think is a good place to go? And she was like, Finland, actually, there's a university. Okay, whatever. It's like, put in. I knew nothing. I barely knew where Finland was, right? So. Then it happened that master's degree program had the priority of a bachelor degree. So I couldn't actually go to Norway because everybody wanted to go to Norway that year. And it was very lucky because it was 2020, so COVID. So actually they couldn't go to Norway, but I could go to Finland.
Oh.
So then I actually could actually have the Erasmus. So, well, then I arrived here. I think like, why Finland maybe is why did I stick with Finland? That's kind of the reason, and that's because I like Finland. I like the culture. I like maybe it has like also Helsinki as a city has this very nice balance that I enjoy because I come from the countryside. I come from a place where the village is like less than 3,000 souls. Okay, so
Really?
yeah, it's a very
Where about?
it's like in the province of Bergamo.
Okay. Okay.
So, well, the thing is, like, I'm used to a place where everybody knows everybody else. Everybody knows what everybody does. If something happened, all the gossip, like you get to know it immediately if something does something a little bit out of the ordinary. And that is like not too cool. But then I lived in Berlin for 2.5 years, and that is like, for me, I don't like it. It's too big. It's like to go from one side to another, you need 2 hours with a train. And it's like so many people. You can never be alone. I'm used to a place where you go out and like literally 5 minutes walking, there's nobody. You scream, nobody can hear you.
I completely agree with you. Isn't like, I'm just going to jump on here quickly, but like I went to go visit Berlin during the lockdowns and stuff.
Oh, it was sad.
Yeah, well, I think it was when they were starting to open things up a little bit.
Okay.
And I've been living in Finland for a while. Things are clean and fresh, and people are happy to not talk to you, right?
Yes, very happy not to.
I didn't know just how used to it I got, because I get to Berlin and I had a friend of mine who says he can host me. He had an apartment. He gave me his address. I arrived. And there were a couple of things that I noticed. One was there was too many damn people.
Yes, definitely. It's crowded everywhere you go.
Dude. And then the second thing was, at least in this area that I was at, there was graffiti everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
Berlin style.
yeah, I mean, I'm a liberal in terms of my thinking and my outlook on life and whatever. But I'm sorry, that was ugly as hell to me.
I share the same thing. Actually, it's well, there are many reasons to this, but one of the main reasons why I broke up with my ex-girlfriend is because she's from Berlin. She wants to live in Berlin, and I'm like,
Okay. No, really? Was that
no way? Yeah, no. I was like, I cannot live in this place. Absolutely no. It's like at the beginning when I arrived there, I liked it. I remember because I compared it with what I knew. So I compared it with, I know, for example, Milan as a big city. I wanted to live in a big city. I have the experience. And I compared it to my little experience of Milan because it's nearby Bergamo. So, you go there half an hour. It depends on the traffic. But I saw Milan to be very grey, to be very, concrete everywhere and not really well nicely decorated things, Italian way don't work too much or not too well public administration, public, transportation. So, and Berlin instead was like, okay, yeah, it's German. It's more German than Milan, right?
Everything's like a little bit more.
Yeah, like not like in Munich where they're really German, but still have this Germanic. It's in Germany after all,
Right.
And I remember I liked it at the beginning. I was like, oh my god, it's actually a very nice, and it's green city. And Berlin, it's very green. It is like if you look at it, it has like a lot of green, parks, trees everywhere. Then it's like it grew on me, like all the negativity and and there is like, I don't want to speak bad about Berlin because Berlin is
I want to hear the saucy stuff.
well, okay. I'll say the good things about Berlin, and then I'll bitch about Berlin.
Okay, let's go. My body is ready.
Okay, so Berlin, the amazing fact of Berlin, or like the amazing cultural aspect of Berlin, is that it's very tolerant. Okay. So you go around in the street naked, nobody gives a shit. Nobody looks you in a weird way. Okay, if you do that here in Finland, in Helsinki, everybody will look at you and be like, whoa. They will not say anything because they don't say anything, right? But they will look at you in a weird way. In Italy, where I'm from, it's like, if you would go on a bus with a piece of a desk, carrying it around, people would be like, giving like little jokes to you, be like, you're moving or something, something like this, like to ask you because that's an odd thing.
Right.
In Berlin, no, I did it. So that's why I'm saying nobody looked at me even like in a weird way. And I was like, really? Nobody's telling me anything? Like, it's so weird for me. Like, it was absolutely, the thing, people carry beers in the bus or like, also in the park, or it's very normal. Everybody can be whatever they want, do whatever they like. That's beautiful.
And it's kind of cheap as well.
It is.
In comparison,
it's the cheapest
to
place. Yeah, absolutely. It's even cheaper than Italy. It's like,
really?
in many things, yes.
Okay.
And, but then there are some aspects of Berlin that is like, for me, it's like starting from this tolerant thing, because when you see at the beginning, it's like, oh, it's a tolerant thing. It's beautiful.
Right.
But then you leave there, and then you start to ask yourself, where's the border? Right. Where is that it ends? It's very nice to have the tolerance, and it starts we should probably not tolerate this. Right? It's okay. I'll tell you one experience that I think is very symbolic.
Okay.
I went to Kit Kat. Kit Kat is this sex club.
Okay.
What is a sex club in the first place? Because I think many people confuse things. Also because I confused it at the beginning. Like
no idea.
Like, for me, for example, in Italy, a nightclub is a place you go and there are strippers. Okay.
Okay.
So when we say we go to what is here a nightclub, we say we go to the disco. Right. So for me, nightclub. So nightclub, there are no strippers. Oh, okay. It's like, you need to understand, right? So what is a sex club? A sex club is a place where you go. It's like a nightclub. You dance, and maybe there are some performers that just as an artist, so to say, are there to spank each other or do kinky things. Right?
Okay.
And it's totally allowed to have sex in the place, right? So there may be even space for you to have sex, right? So I've been also in places in Berlin where, for example, there is dark rooms. Like it's like a maze, and you go in and you see nothing, right? And other people see nothing, and you may bump into each other, and something may happen.
What the?
Yes, yeah. Well, you see, that's the what the fuck moment, and it's like
there's so much that could go wrong.
Yes, okay, but that all connects
Holy
to
crap.
That all connects to the same thing. That is like, okay, you get to this when I tell you this about this Kit Kat experience. I went there, and I went with a couple of friends. Actually, they are from Italy, a couple of girls, and we need to pull ourselves together in a very kinky way, because that's how you get in. If not, you don't get in.
Okay.
Even if you're naked, you don't get in. Like, it's not enough. Okay. Okay.
So naked is not enough. You have
No,
to
no.
show your insides.
You do, more kinky, like some leather or some net or some whatever thing, but more kinky.
Okay.
And then you get in, and of course, Kit Kat has many different events, different evening styles, and so on. But the one I went to, it was techno music, and I am not particularly a fan. So also one reason I don't like Berlin that much. Like, everybody's about techno, I don't like it. And there I had this experience where, we were dancing, we were enjoying our time, taking little pictures here and there in the shooting box, little thing, or going take like dance in different place, different music, seeing the kinky thing, and just entertaining.
Right.
And then there was one girl, like the first interaction I had, I think maybe it was even the unique one, because one girl came to me, and in German she asked me if I had the rape drug.
What?
Yeah, that was my face. That was my face. What? Like, you are asking me if I have the rape drug? So should I assume that you want me to use it on you? And I was like, what the fuck?
What?
How does it, what, It really blew my mind out. Like, I didn't know why a person would ever ask something like this. Because to me, rape is a bad thing. Right? I assume
That just makes me so uncomfortable. What do you do?
I just say no. It's just like, I looked at her, I stared at her, and I was like, 9. Like, I was like, are you like a? I know, I maybe like I think the thought crossed my mind that maybe this is like a police officer, undercover. I don't know.
Right.
But I was like, no, 9. And she was like, okay, and went off. And I was like, and I was reflecting this, and then I understood. Then I looked at the place with that perspective in mind, and I understood what actually was going on around me.
Okay.
When there were like a girl that was, walking in the back, hand on hand with a person, with a guy that was kind of basically guiding her somewhere. Oh. When there were someone like, fucking in the sides here and there, and you see this kind of look on the girls, like being a little bit absent. Fuck. Oh, and I was like,
dude, that's
wait. And I was like, but these people are, well, they are not raped, because rape is something you don't want. Like, it's like forcing sex on someone. These people want this. Like, they are asking for it.
Dude, that is crazy.
And I was like, oh, wait. That kind of made my gut move a bit, because I was like, it's so inconceivable for me. And then I kind of tried to reflect on why someone would want to do that. And the unique kind of reflection the unique reason I could give myself to, and also I talked with people about this. So the unique thing that I was able to pull together as a thought is that they want to lose control. Basically, this is kind of the ultimate level of let your body be taken by life, and whatever happened. It's like kind of abandoning yourself. And there is some sort of artsy feeling of this, kind of let the life leave you, or I don't know, but it's just like the unique way how I could explain like a behavior like that. And that that is where I understand. Okay, Berlin, too much. Like this, tolerance level. Okay, but then, to me, I prefer borders. Like, okay, nice, not for me. Like, I appreciate, I respect, not for me. It's like,
That's
and
wild.
of course, this is like one of the craziest places in the center of Berlin. Because there is much of the surrounding of Berlin that, the family of my ex-girlfriend, I'm really attached to them, and they're, absolutely not crazy people. They're like loving, they're very respectful, caring. They, all what you could imagine from a good family, right? So in a way, there is much else. It's just that this is what characterized Berlin. This is in the heart of Berlin. And to me, that was like, okay, thank you, but no thank you.
That's kind of crazy. I wonder how Berlin got to that point. I mean, it actually reminds me of this phrase. It goes something along the lines of, don't become so open-minded that your brain falls out.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I think Berlin got not just has lost it on the ground, has put graffiti on it,
And it's so funny. Berlin is the type of place where your brain falls out and then you spray paint.
Yeah, definitely. They don't want it anymore. Like,
But that does bring in an interesting question: is how do you create those boundaries? Like, how do you know what how far things should go, because the way society is evolving, at least for me, is everyone is always wanting to push for more freedom, more, I don't know, just more open-mindedness and that sort of stuff. And I'm all for it. Like I'm all for being open and that sort of stuff. But surely there are certain lines that should not be crossed. But this is a bigger question or bigger thought, because because it flows into so many things, right?
Life, like our perception of it, of kind of how we live, the communication about it, the circumstances of it. So it's a lot. In a way,
but at the same time, I'm pretty sure it's a proven fact that no boundaries just fucks everything up. Like, where if they are, I mean, there's law, right?
I think also natural law, like law of nature. Sorry, it's like, if you don't have it's a natural organization. It kind of pulls together with somewhat rules.
Yeah.
Because those work.
Yeah.
So like, in a way, how I think as humans, I think this is one of the point that Noah Harari makes is one of his book. I think is Sapiens.
Okay.
And
who is that? Is that
Noah Harari is a historian from Israel, and he is very. His books are very well known because I think he's a very good thinker, and he goes basically by, like, through history, he explains something about today life.
All right. So, okay.
There are many books that I will highly recommend to everybody. Read the trilogy. I think it's like Homo Sapiens, Homo Deus, and then there is 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. I think is very.
Oh, dude, you must see. I'll hit you up about that afterwards, because that sounds really interesting.
Highly recommend. I don't know why, but now I assume that everybody has read them because it's in one of his book he makes this point that what makes humans be one of the strongest species on Earth in terms of kind of domination, if you want, of or technology, intellect, and so on, is that we are able to organize with each other, right? So we're able to work in big numbers. He makes this example where if you have like a monkey and a human, and you put them in the forest, on whom would you bet to survive? Well, the monkey, right? If you put like 10 monkeys and 10 humans, well, still the 10 monkeys, right? If you put 100 monkeys and 100 humans, probably still the 100 monkeys. If you put 1,000, definitely the humans. If you put 1,000,000, definitely the humans, right? That's the thing. So we developed this way of communicating. Like, think about how amazing it is that we, me and you can communicate in one language. It's not even my mother tongue. It's yours, but you have also...
I speak French, actually.
Right. So it's not even your mother tongue.
Yeah.
So in a way, we are talking in a language that is not even our mother tongue. And we are from...
colonized.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Yeah. So, we come from totally different countries, totally different cultures, but we can still understand each other. And the beauty of this, if you think about communication, what really is about is that you have a concept in your mind and you are trying to transfer it to the mind of the other person, right? That's what all communication is really about, to understand each other so that you can take that concept, analyze it, decide if you agree, don't agree, if you want to use it in your life, adopt it, forget it, or whatever it is, but at least you're able to receive it, right? That's what all communication is really about. So it's amazing how we humans are able to do that. Not all the species is. Even in orcas or dolphins, they can talk to each other. They have their own language, but they cannot communicate with a different pack, or like they have different dialects. Do they understand each other? We don't know, but it's probable that they don't really understand each other. Maybe something like a general kind of feelings, as we understand we empathize with a monkey or a dog, because if they cry out, we understand that they feel pain.
Yeah.
But it's not like really a communication that you can understand a concept. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I like the way you put that together. It almost reminds me of something I was thinking about a couple weeks ago, is this idea of systems. So, for example, us as individuals, we've got our way of living. We wake up, we have our own morality. But as you zoom out and as you put more people together, it begins to function less and less like a singular entity and more like a system. So, for example, you're alone, you get a family. It's a little bit of a system. I mean, like, if you've got a wife, she comes back at a certain time, or whoever's working, who takes care of the kids, that's one system. But then you zoom out even more, and then you've got a community, and then city, governments, and all that sort of stuff. But at a certain point, systems begin to take on a life of their own, almost like a big machine, where as individuals are like little boats, but when you put everything together, it's like a massive ship. Almost like it's I guess a way of putting it is that the ship is carved out of the thinking of all the individual parts mixed together into creating its own kind of thing. That's why the type of environment you get when you go to, say, China is different when you go to a different city in America or whatnot. And it's so interesting that systems are what make humans so incredible. The fact that I have no idea where this microphone came from, right?
You can.
I just went to the
elevate.
store and freaking bought it.
Yes.
But there was a whole system that, and well, so far, since globalization is still a thing right now, where I bet you part of this was made in different countries. It's gone through different hands. All I did was just arrive at a store and just paid for it. It's kind of crazy when you think about systems.
I think the most crazy example is, I don't remember who gave this, maybe it was Henry Ford, I don't remember the record, but it was a pencil, like one single pencil. You go to a store, you buy, what does it cost, like 50 cents or something, very little to you. But that is only possible because of globalization, because, graphite was mined somewhere in Bolivia or like South America, wherever that is. And then it was transport somewhere where they could actually work with machinery that are automatized.
Right.
So, and then it was, the wood was taken from whatever country somewhere else, and it was put together by other machine with the glue, and the paint was, because it's red outside, was taken from the kind of mineral that is from another minery somewhere else. It was transformed into paint, and then there was put it around that, and then it was like packaged in a store, and you go there and you're like, this thing came from like so many different places and was working so many different places in the world, even though it's just like a stupid little, almost insignificant cost for you. Is crazy
because of that. It's almost like, it reminds me, like, just thinking about all these systems and stuff, like what we're talking about. It's almost why, when the Spanish went to, who did the Spanish, the Spanish, well, was it the Aztecs that they...
all the Indian population of Native America that they...
Yeah, anyway, I can't remember it, but it just shows that the societies that were able to take over other societies just had more systems in place that were more machine-like, more organized, right? So the reason why the Romans were able to destroy so many other people is because they had a system of how to do war.
Organization.
It wasn't about someone's crazy feelings, because they fought against like these berserker tribes, these people who would, I don't know, do certain drugs or whatever, and then go crazy and scream and sing and then fight. But with the simple organization of just systems, this is how we learn, this is how we do it, they were able to destroy almost everyone. But the issue for me is, what happens when a system is corrupted?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
And how do you begin to change the whole thing? Like, for example, right now, we're talking about Berlin. I'm sure, I'm not going to make any assumptions about Berlin, but let's say things continue and become wilder, right? It will be a collective way of thinking in that society. How does one get into that and then correct that, right?
Somewhat, I think this has a lot to do with, Well, this is reflecting on how we human organize ourselves, right? And I think we are we are basically doing experiments on this, right? And we may not have the feeling that it's an experiment because it takes a long time for these experiments to be carried on, like centuries time. But it is experiments. If you think about it, like history-wise, how humans organized themselves previously, it was with kingdoms, right? It was a king, or there was maybe like a pharaoh or whatever, and then that person was empowered by God, or was like partially God, with some features like tendentially more on the religious. And when reflecting about that, that is all based on beliefs, right? It's like all these beliefs of religion or whatever is like this trust. And the same thing we have today. Like, we have the beliefs in money. Right? That's a belief. Like, the thing that you hold on your phone that tells you have 1,000 in your bank account, wherever that number there.
If you're lucky.
Is. Yeah. Well, that's a belief,
Yeah.
and you can believe that because there is a central bank that backs that up. So, but that aside, in a way, it's how they evolved is from this kind of kingdom form into something a little bit more complex,
Right.
to a point where we arrive to democracies, basically.
Yeah.
And even many different systems. For example, even the idea of communism, or the idea of Nazism. It's different, but like these are anyway different way to organize each other as humans, right? Because that's kind of a logistical problem. If you think about it, big numbers kind of brings this problem. If you have 10 friends, you're like starting a project together, and you're like, okay, we will, I don't know, start to have a YouTube channel, whatever it is, right? And then there may be some things that requires attention and time and focus. So maybe you start to even have some success, and then you start to sell something, some items, some perks or whatever. Then you need a person that takes care of that, right? So then you maybe decide, this one person of these 10 friends takes charge of it and does it as a kind of side hustles. Okay, let's sort of say that now 100 people do a similar thing. There is a community of bachata dancers, for example, and they start to. There is this thing. There is an organization that organizes party for free, or basically no profit. So they just cover the costs, and they organize all these things. So there is a certain amount of people that do this for kind of a side thing. It's not their job, but they take care of organizing this for everybody else. So everybody else contributes to them so that they can do it, right? And trust them with this. Now, when it becomes like bigger and bigger, like millions of people, they need to start to need someone that does that as a full-time job,
right?
That dedicates their time to be organizing all the things that in a community, and they are very plenty, they need to be taken care of. And there is where you have like municipality, mayor, and so on. And then it becomes like bigger and becomes government. And so what do we need to organize these things? Then we need, let's put together a bunch of people. That's a ministry, right? Ministry of the Defense. We need to organize all the military forces, logistic, time, money. How does it's a lot of logistical things. So you need to have people dedicated to that. So if you think about it, like it's just the last century that we have this democracy thing. It's quite recent.
Yep.
Right. So in a way, it's just a test. If there is a better system, maybe someone will come up with it. I mean, all the other systems that were kind of running in the same kind of level they have been basically thrown away. Yeah. Even though now, like you could argue that, well, the Democratic Republic of China, it's not exactly Democratic Republic, but hey, it's nice to have a name representative, right?
Yeah.
So, but in a way, I think that that's kind of somewhat the unique best system that we have now.
Yeah.
Maybe something that we'll throw there is like maybe with AI and better generative AI, this would change. That would be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting because we do know communism failed completely. Mm-hmm. There are just too many things wrong with it. We are not machines, so we can't live under that. It's just not possible.
It doesn't match with human feelings.
Yeah, it doesn't. The fact that people can do different levels of work and still get the same amount of money, like no one will want to create anything, right?
Exactly. Not motivating enough.
Yeah, exactly. And then now, like here in Finland, I think it's a little bit more like democratic socialism, where there's certain things that are provided by the government to make sure that everyone's living a certain level of life. For me, living here, this for me works best so far as I can see.
It's the most comfortable.
Yeah, it's the most comfortable for sure, right? Whereas in America, they've got some social programs and stuff, but like the amount of stories you hear of people who lost everything because of hospital bills, like what?
Like the worst thing the worst nightmares come from being sick.
Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
you have a nightmare of becoming sick and then everything goes sideways.
Dude, that is insane. Let me just add more coffee.
Absolutely. Back in the game.
Back at it again. I forgot what we were talking about.
Well, the systems or the organization of humankind.
Oh, jeez.
That's what we were talking about.
But then I guess, oh yeah, and then I was talking about how democratic socialism here in Finland is, for me, it definitely works the best. I think that's one thing I really enjoy about this place is the fact that there are so many things I don't have to think about anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know,
You don't need to stress yourself about.
yes, that you don't need to stress yourself.
I totally feel you, because it's one of the reasons why I would not go back to live in Italy. It's
What is democracy and everything, those systems we're talking about? What is it like in Italy?
well, I think at this point it's not really about democracy or kind of this high level organization systems, but it's more like the practical outcome. And I think that the difference of this comes more into the forms of cultural aspects. Actually, let me tell you something. Is when I arrived here in Finland, I asked myself the question, why in some countries life is more expensive than in others? Right? Because here in Finland, the cost of life is higher. Then of course you have also equivalent higher wages and higher pay, so everything more or less is. And funny enough, the most where the ratio is the best, so how much money remains in your pocket and how much purchasing power they represent, that's Germany.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you can say that's the most efficient. Right.
Right.
Of course, then, there is also, you need to consider like the benefits of the country. For example, Finland has a lot of benefits, has a lot of these programs. And in my question, I started to investigate. I started to try to understand, okay, how does it work? Like, I also studied international business. That was the last thing I studied. So I wanted to understand how is this phenomenon possible? What is it due to? And I found the answer in a university in the US, that they made some online videos with very interesting information. I was like, okay, this is why. So they explained how is a chain of factors, one thing that influences another. It starts with, ask yourself the question, why do things cost more? The answer is, well, because people can pay more. The price of something is really what people are willing to pay for it. That's the price of something. And, well, then you ask yourself...
Called something demand. I forgot what it's called.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, there was another word for it. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, basically supply and demand laws is what reaches then at a certain point the equilibrium, and then you reach that price that is basically what people are willing to pay for, right? Yes. So then there is the following question is, well, why do people are willing to pay more for it? Well, because they have more money. Following question is, why do they have more money? Well, because company can pay them more. Why can company pay them more? Well, because company more profitable. Why are company more profitable? Well, and this comes the interesting bit, because the systems they rely on are more efficient. What systems? Well, this is infrastructure system, telecommunication system, legislation system. So, if you need to solve a dispute with another company, if it takes 2 months, it's different than it takes 2 years, because all the money there then of the disputes, all the problems, the lawyer cost, wasted time, all the entertainment, like the fact that you cannot get justice immediately, you cannot get your money back immediately, financial cost. Or, for example, also all the other system of public administration. You need to have certain procedures, documents, certification, because maybe you're organizing an event somewhere. If it takes 2 weeks, is one thing. If you can do it online by yourself, is one thing. If you need to go to an office, if you need to, fill in papers, pay some taxes on it, and then you need to wait for like months, is a different thing, right? So companies are more efficient, or systems are more efficient, company can make more money, can be more profitable. Then the question is, why are systems more efficient in some countries than other? And this boils down to culture.
Oof.
And this, I can tell you, I lived it on my own skin. So I can confirm that for me, this is totally right. Because in Italy, especially in the south of Italy, you go to the public administration office, you immediately feel it. Like, it's more like I lived in Germany, Italy, I lived in New Zealand, a little bit in Argentina, and now here in Finland. So I know some cultures, or at least I perceive them, right? And I can tell you, also working with these people. So then you get the feeling. Then if you go to Italy, it's like, it's 8 o'clock, you need to start working. Oh, okay, let's go take a coffee. So then, we are ready to go to work properly. Let's a little, 15 minutes of coffee, and then you chit chat, and it comes, half an hour.
I feel attacked.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's also, South America. Yep.
Joking, yeah.
Exactly. Also like, I'll tease this early, Tanzania, when I was in Zanzibar, and you order your meal and it comes 1 hour and a half later.
Oh, God.
You feel it,
I've got some stories about South Africa. Don't you worry. Continue.
And then, Germany, you go to work at 8. At 8, you start working. So you're there before, you start working, you work. Like, that's the mentality. You work. When you work, you work. You don't even do breaks, And then, of course, it depends where you work, and it's always different. But I'm saying in average as a culture, that's a difference. In Finland is also like, when you work, you work from this time to this time, and you work. And you focus. You can have breaks, you do things, but when you're working, you're focused. And you can notice this also if you write a text to someone, a friend of yours, in working hours, maybe they reply to you, or they say, hey, let's talk about this later. Because they're working, they want to focus on what they're working on. Maybe they don't reply, they reply you later. You really feel it. Yeah. Well, in Italy, maybe we'll start texting you or whatever.
Do a video call. Yeah, I'm at work, bro.
Yeah, well, so, everything boils down to culture, cultural dynamics, cultural differences. And, when
you see, this is, I love this subject because there's so many different directions one can go with this. Where, for example, this is why I think education is such an important thing. No matter if there's a country that's doing badly and whatever, it probably starts with education and trying to change that culture, trying to change the way things are usually run. So I'll give you an example.
Wait, okay. Let me stop you right there and tell you something. I work in the field of education, right? So
okay.
So now it's not even like working in the field of education that is relevant here, but it's more about what we referred before as kind of systems or organizations in like organization type that humans use to organize themselves.
Right.
Now you apply this thinking of, well, if you be a country, what would you do? Well, it doesn't work that way. That's the thing. Like a country is not a human, because a human would think in no way.
Yes, you're so right.
But now there is the system that works in a different way, right? Yeah. So it's not one mind. It's now, for example, I bring you the example of Italy, or whatever, or the democratic system, actually. So now you have people that to be there, to be the one that are covering a high position, very respectable, highly paid, with all the rights. There needs to be highly paid. So you're doing a lot of job. You are responsible for many things. Like you need to be highly paid. But in a way, that is by election. You need to be elected. What does it mean nowadays? Well, you need to have extreme campaigns to advertise yourself, to spend a lot of money and time into it. So what you're really starting with is to care that people perceive in a certain way and that they vote you. What does it mean? That you need to do things people like. And then we can get to the point we also kind of mentioned before. What do people like? And what is their way to perceive things nowadays, right? So in a way, they need to be things that you like instinctively, that appeals to your gut emotion, not really to your reason, right? So we shall improve education. Do you really think that most of people are actually caring about that? They say so if you ask, because of course if you ask, you already put them in a position where everybody wants to improve education. Yes, of course, right? Yeah, but then actually doing it and what is more important for you in priority list, it's different. They vote with the gut. Even like the way how people vote. This will be a very interesting survey to make, because I think that most of you, I'll tell you this experience of mine. Like, who did teach you how to vote? What's the thinking process behind the voting, right? Like, to me, it was my father. Like, he explained to me, and I totally disagree with the way that my father votes, like nowadays.
Okay.
But at the time I just took it as it was, because who am I to challenge? I didn't know shit. So I was like a young person, and I don't know, I was 18, when you can start to vote. And my father explained to me the way how he votes. And he said, well, you vote this way, unquestionable, like this is how it works. So it's thinking at your advantages, your own set of advantages. So he said, well, you go through all the candidates' proposals, and then you evaluate what that will have as an impact on you, and what's the most advantage or advantageous for you. So, and then you vote the one that is the most advantageous for you. I don't agree with this at all, right? Because at least my own way to think about votes and election is that you should vote the, so to say, offer that is what you think is best for humanity. And in that particular instance, to your country. What does this country need? And if you think about your own interest first, now there will be like a phenomenon that, population is aging. What do they care about education? It doesn't impact them. Kids that go to school, they can vote.
But for some people, how do people are not good at thinking further than themselves? Right?
Yeah, it's natural. It's something you have to do.
Yeah, no, because I completely agree with you. Like, if I were to vote, I would vote in a way that where I was informed as to like what will be better for the system that I'm in right now. So let's say in Finland, if I had to choose a candidate, right, I would vote for something I think would benefit everyone, and obviously it needs to be aligned with a lot of my values as well, right? If a government came out and said, okay, cool, we're going to make date rape drugs legal.
Berliners will love this.
I would be like, yeah, what the hell? But then another thing I was thinking about, and this is another way of looking at it, I'm trying not to lose this idea. It's, okay, so how do you know what the people like? It's because of the culture that they're in and the connections that they have with one another. What happens when something like the internet can change culture? When people are online watching things on TikTok and Instagram, and then now it becomes this huge talk on, now people can actually lie on the internet about certain things, and a whole society can start thinking about something in a different way, then changes the whole culture. I think this is a danger that
I think somewhat in this instance, there is like two main things that are important to kind of understand and keep in mind, and I've thought like, if I know everything about this, like I don't absolutely, like I'm far away to understand all this kind of circumstances of government and communication, propaganda, and all this, like even like social media communication. I think that if there is someone, it's probably very few people that really understand what is the impact on society, and those people are the ones that are having data, right? So that can ask, maybe the CEO of Google maybe can have like a good glimpse of this, or I don't know. But in a way, I think that it is important to remind ourselves that first, liars in elections has existed since elections exist.
True.
Like, there are some what they're called in English, I don't know, like this kind of piece of stones where they were, writing on for elections that were like some basic propaganda, like some campaigns for some emperors in Roman Empire.
Right.
I don't know. No, not that. Well, I don't know, but I mean, like maybe there was also at that time, but but also there was like lies about what they would have done, like promises,
Right.
things that they already knew they could not keep, right? So there has always been this. What I think is the difference nowadays is that if before people had, like, maybe the difference is that it wasn't so good before. This system of lying or this kind of promises not really kept, or all this kind of, vote for me because, and the, so to say, manipulation of the ideas of the population, before they were not so good. Now they are getting to a level that is astonishingly good, with this kind of social media, the reels, the video, where they are able to kind of somewhat stimulate your dopamine release, keep you stick to that, and then also make appear things as they are not, or make you somewhat lower your guards in criticism and not really be able to perceive with a critical eye what you are seeing. This is one of the things about Hamas propaganda. That's like they are really able to make you feel like that video has been taken from a random person that is recording a crazy war situation and then sharing it on the internet to make everybody knows. But that's not true. Like most of the time, at least, it's not true. Like the propaganda you see, the reels you see, is that there is like a whole, a director and many people making those videos in a very good way. Maybe they even take pieces from different wars or different things, like just to make it, make it up. Or it's just like they are getting very, very good at it, right? So in a way, that's one phenomenon. Like lies has always been existed, and now they're just getting particularly good in this manipulation of feelings and thinking of people. Another one, I think, is also to keep in mind that this is used in many different ways. The best kind of manipulation of mass populations when you need to concern yourself as if you are a dictator and you want to, if you're Putin, not to make names, so you need to concern yourself with one thing: give people something to worry about.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you're doing something shady, you don't want them to look at the shady things, or you don't want them to look at the things that are very, that they could not agree with. Right. So what do? You give them something that they will fight about. Right. So that they're occupied, busy fighting that thing and having that kind of conversation, litigating one another, where they're distracted and they don't really pay attention to the other thing that is happening. So this is also another important thing to keep in mind, where there are all this kind of discussion, like, are we talking about the right thing?
I think, no, I totally get what you're saying, but I think there's a level of this that gets a bit shadier, like in two aspects. I'm trying to make sure that I'm trying to stick with what we're actually speaking about, because sometimes
we're getting into a tunnel.
But I totally get you in terms of what people are watching. But the thing that I think is quite nefarious is this. The first thing is that companies like Google and Instagram and TikTok, they no longer control the algorithm, in a sense, in the way that when we think about controlling the algorithm, we think that they completely decide exactly how things work. The algorithms themselves have taken a life of their own. So they analyze what you personally enjoy and like, and it feeds you more of that.
Yeah, there's no person taking care of what you see.
Yeah, exactly. So on the one hand, that's how I'm saying I wonder if culture can be impacted in that way, because
AI will do to our culture.
Yeah, or AI. Like, I mean, I'm still not sure about these accusations. Not like people call TikTok a Chinese spyware app, basically, that they're feeding
warfare
people things through like misinformation and stuff. I don't know. I need to look into that. And then the second thing was that I hated when my mind just, I had this thing that I wanted to say. Fuck. I need to start getting like a notepad or something to write down
that's actually really good for
the things that
yeah.
I come up with. Give me a second.
It's useful to go backwards in the thinking. So
Oh yes. I was thinking about politicians and stuff lying and that sort of stuff. It's not even the fact that politicians lie in my estimation. That's to be expected. But it's just now it's so much easier than ever to feed people, to mass feed lies. Because now with social media, things just bounce around. But that's what I actually wanted to go to. I was just talking shit there for a second.
That helps.
Yeah. But when you mentioned Hamas and that sort of stuff, we have gotten into a place in our minds where we get a lot of information from short form content. We watch a 30-second video and we don't need or don't care to know what happened before or after the video. We see something and we judge it. Like you see a video of a man punching the shit out of another man, right? Like, and he's just hitting him bloody. And we watch that and we like condemn it, blah, blah, blah. And then you get the longer version and you realize that the dude getting hit has actually kidnapped his daughter and doesn't want to give it back. You know what I'm saying? It's like...
It's funny when you can do that so many times. Like, you give like a little short clips of something, like someone punching another. And you're like, who's the bad guy? The one punching. Right. And then you explain something less like, but this provoked in this way, like slap the girlfriend, and then it's like, oh, who's the bad guy? The one actually slapped the girlfriend that has been punched. And then it's like, you expand a little bit. Yeah, but the girlfriend was actually sleeping with the other man and she did something really bad to him. And then who's the bad guy? Like, no, it's the girlfriend.
It just keeps going and going. Like, for example, with this whole Israel-Gaza conflict thing, and we don't have to get into it, but the one thing I just want to say is I've genuinely been disturbed by how many people seem to not know what they're talking about. Like,
okay,
like in terms of like, I completely, it's a complicated issue, but online I see a lot of people speak from emotion, and a lot of it I can completely understand. But when you start talking details with some people, I'm like, oh, you actually don't know anything about this, like at all.
No info, yeah.
Like it's crazy.
How do you see when you say like I see people? Like what do you see? Like how does that take form? Like is comments, is like someone creating videos, or how exactly do you see? I'm interested. I'm curious to see.
It's a combination of everything. Okay. So online videos that some people make, comments that people leave, the general atmosphere on the online space, what you can talk about, what you can't talk about, the vitriol and anger if you say something that is not in line with what everyone wants more. And then once you kind of dive into it and you start reading about some of the details, people seem to make things so black and white all the time. When in fact, if you just take a moment to sit down and read through some of this stuff.
Well, that's what people don't do that much anymore. Right?
But like, it's kind of crazy because people will attack you with what they view as a righteous indignation, where they feel there is no way that I can be wrong in what I'm feeling. And I understand the feeling. I respect your emotions. I respect your vibe, whatever. But at least for the love of all that is good, before you go out and make a huge statement about something, at least try and understand a little bit about it, or just try, because I don't know, I think the whole situation is just devastating for everyone involved. right? For
Infamous,
yeah,
like a word.
for everyone involved, it's crazy situation. People have died. It's just insane. But I genuinely get so annoyed when I see that people have not, they don't even understand the basics of what is going on. And that's all right. Actually, I don't need to know about every conflict that is happening in the world or whatever. But it just gave me a window into the online world we live in now. And now I'm like, why was I shocked? This is the way it is.
It's interesting to see how, like, thinking, well, you are very much into the social media content creation, right? So you leave that space in a certain way, like probably quite intensively, right?
Yes.
I am not, right? So I leave that in a different way. And to me, it's more like being an external observer in a life where I don't perceive that much, and have this intromission from all those people's perception in life into mine, where I'm like, and by I mean, for example, a friend of mine kind of came to, I don't remember exactly what was the topic about, but it came to me saying something as reporting it more like a fact.
Okay.
When the source of that information was Instagram or TikTok reel. Right? Like, really, like, and I, I generally, like, I didn't know about the thing.
Right.
It's not that I am an expert about everything, right? So as everybody, like, tendentially when someone reports you something, you don't know about that thing, right?
Right.
So what you try to do is try to understand more. Like, if you're curious, I'm very curious. So I try to understand more. So what you do is ask questions, right? And you want to understand, okay, like, not to verify your sources, but to verify your sources. Where is that you got this information from? Because maybe I want to read those sources to kind of get a better understanding, to understand more. Maybe I have some knowledge about those sources, you don't, and we can get together to a better understanding. That's why we communicate and talk about certain things. And when I got to, like, when I asked her and I realized, oh yeah, it was like a real Instagram, like, do you really consider those things reliable? I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to generalize on reels on social media. Cannot have at all good information inside. Definitely not true. Okay. There is, and I do appreciate, for example, I sometimes look at Instagram reels also because I kind of like to take inspiration for like bachata videos, and I record those and then I try them out in practice. So it's very useful for me, or also acrobatic videos or so. So sometimes then I see other reels, and for example, I stumble upon this neuroscientist that is doing, information, and that's like very much appreciate. Hey, I will follow you because I want to see more of this.
Right.
So that I think is there is good there, but most of the content, because of how it works, the system of this social media, it's not verified information. It's not someone that carefully went and verified the sources and checked the information. Actually, it's the opposite. What normally is more appealing to emotions that, it can generate in your gut. Like, if you see someone smashing the face of another one, you react to that because it's natural. Like, as a human, you react to that. You're interested. That's why, people stop looking at the accident scenes, right? You don't see blood. Not because you are an evil person, just because it's a natural thing that you are impelled to check, right? Yep. So all those contents that appeal most to this, or like the screams, like at the negative things, like, conspirations or conspiracy, or, all this negative feeling that can give you, those are more appealing than positive feelings tendentially. That's what news and newspapers tendentially report accidents, crime, killing, rather than, a good benefactory that donated money here and there, or what good they done to this kid or that kid, tendency is more negative. That's because of the reason how we are wired as humans, right? Or what we pay attention to. And so in a way, this kind of lack of understanding, or like lack of criticism towards what you are seeing, this maybe because they got very good at it, like, this kind of information system, but in social media and so, and not just like with someone with a bad intention. Like, I'm not talking about some government having agencies that are actually promoting this. There are those as well. Cambridge Analytica, was one example. Now they probably have a different name, but they are the same company somewhere else.
Right.
But there is also the system itself that promotes people that are creating content that is liked the most. That content, tendentiously, is not very good. informations. And let me tell this loud, Mike, not good information. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's like if you want to have good information, you need to have developed a thought about it, like an opinion about it. It's something that you see. What is a good information? It's like when you check different sources, right? You have built an understanding based on sources that you consider reliable. Maybe you check also sources that you don't consider reliable just to understand what they're saying. Then you develop your own opinion about it based on your life experiences, your own ideas. You put those into the thinking. That's very fundamental. And then you develop your own opinion. Then you have what is an information that probably is good information. Right?
Yep. Do you know why because I completely agree with everything you're saying, especially when it comes to checking sources and that sort of stuff. And I feel a lot of pressure about this because I want to be a part of the solution as opposed to being a part of the problem. And I'll tell you why. Because the information flowing around, a lot of us like to listen to short little clips, and we are drawn to the things that we want to believe. And then the algorithm begins to share what we want to believe to us all the time until we are completely enveloped in the silo where we think, I don't know, the earth is flat because, all the information's been telling that to us. And also we have become lazy. Like you're talking about sources. I can tell you there have been many times when I've just believed something because I saw a video about it. And now, since there's been a little bit of pressure on me to, especially when it comes to talking about sensitive issues, I'll tell you, like I was writing this script for this video I wanted to make, and I read it through, and I used ChatGPT to, what I use it for, I don't use it to get any of my ideas, but I usually use it to where I'll post my script and be like, give me counter arguments so I can argue with ChatGPT just to refine
very good use to have
my
to spare with someone.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I do it. But
I just said someone.
You see, it's already.
I have to say, I love ChatGPT. I talk with ChatGPT every day.
Really?
No, I don't even type anymore. With the app, you can just talk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know? Okay, let's make ChatGPT participate to this conversation, shall we?
Okay.
Like, I normally use the app, and I just open like ChatGPT, and I just like let's see, new chat. What do you think is the most important factor in verifying sources, especially considering nowadays very short clips and information spreading through social media? I hope it has a good connection here.
Most important factor in verifying sources, especially with short clips and information on social media, is to check the credibility and track record of the source. This involves looking at whether the source is known for accurate reporting, if they have expertise in the subject matter, and if they provide evidence or references.
No, they wanted to let it go on for a while, but
What?
it's like it's like having a call.
Wait, what? You can speak to ChatGPT now?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay. What? Okay.
Well, I'm happy to bring you this news, but it's a while now.
Yeah, but the reason why the whole checking sources thing is going to become more and more important because, bro.
They have sources now in ChatGPT, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can go check their sources in the text.
Shit.
Yeah.
But to jump on what I was saying is the fact that AI will be able to, already now when someone shares a picture, part of your mind is like, is this a real picture or is this fake, right? You can fake audio and video now and that sort of stuff. And so anyway, I wrote this whole thing, shared it on ChatGPT to argue with it. And then I asked ChatGPT, tell me about the bias in the script. And I was completely biased. Like, I didn't even try anything. And it just made me go, oh, I need to decide what kind of person I want to be online. There are certain things that I will have very strong opinions on. But if I'm sharing information about something that is sensitive, or there are many it's not as black and white. I need to be able to share sources of what I agree with and don't agree with. Like in the script, I literally gave counter arguments to my own arguments. In the script, I was like, yeah, maybe they did this. And I was like, but also some people think that this happened.
Definitely, yes.
And
I believe this is this kind of, what you're describing now is basically the process of writing a good piece. And this, my experience, one of the most important learning that I got by university studies is actually to learn to write a scientific paper. That's one of the most important things, because when you do that and you have a good professors for you, we had just one course for one semester to learn was scientific writing and analysis or something. But that is where we needed to look. We wrote a scientific article, like scientific paper, right? And I needed to write mine. Of course, I thought, as being an Italian, I want to know more about coffee. So I wrote it on coffee, or like more coffee diseases and the systems behind coffee rust and that is lacking, and the one after wheat rust and the organization behind and what it could be done and the economical side of it, because it's international business studies. But anyway, being able to really write a scientific paper, it means that you need to verify every single thing you say. Like in one sentence, you need to verify, have proof of every single thing.
every single
That means you need to have the citations of a source that where there is someone actually and someone not, the first person someone that many people have cited, or someone that is very recognized as a good source, right? So you used many things, or with double peer, what's called
like peer-reviewed
papers, or like on, if it is on Science as a magazine, it's very controlled, so it's considered valuable and reliable. So all this, it really gets into your mind. Well, you need to write one, and you smash your head against, I cannot say this because I don't have proof of it.
Dude, that is so true.
And it's very frustrating, because it's so limited. It's a big limitation to what you want to say, or how you want to build an argument or discourse or anything. But that's what really teaches you. Like when someone talks, did they verify what they are saying?
Right.
You also put it the other way around.
That's so, I'm realizing why it probably took me so long to write what I wrote. And I'm really intrigued about the whole, how a science paper is written, in terms of, because I had these moments where after doing the thing with ChatGPT, I went back and I read a sentence about something I said. And I was like, if someone disagrees with that sentence, can I point them to where I figured that out? And I was like, oh, I just pulled that out of my ass, actually.
yeah. But then it's like, it's hard job to create content that is very educational and that is, argument proof.
Yeah.
It's like factual.
Right?
It's very hard job. Like people
Continue.
People don't understand this, but in a way, it's that there are not that many people that are able to do that. And when they do, it takes a huge amount of time, and that means investment. But that's a problem. That how this kind of communication systems are built. They work in a way that you get a higher ranking based of how many likes you have and how much people like you, how popular you can get. And that's not based on verified information, how high quality your content is in terms of factual facts or how verified your sources are, but more on how charming you are, right? How much you can appeal to the emotion of people. And that is something that is very negative. Like now think about, I want to make this reflection about, because now we're talking about communication and social media and all this kind of very short clip content and kind of, all this even studies of how to make people release dopamine in their brain to, get them attached, keep them attached to the screens and continue to use that platform and therefore shoot advertisement and then make money with it. It's a problem that I saw it. I went to Slash and I volunteered in Slash, and then we had had this volunteers party, and there's 1,600 volunteers at Slash every year, so it was a big party, and they organized in a different location afterwards and so on. And in this event,
Slash again?
Slush is one event here in Helsinki, one of the main event for startup in the world.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, my company was involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that everybody wants to be. It's just amazing. It's like, and tickets are very, very expensive. That's like a good. Anyway,
Yeah, sorry.
I got to talk with very young people because there are many students that actually volunteer. So, from 18 years old to 22 or something, like also that range, there is a lot of them. And by the way, I got shocked because, I was like talking with a girl and I was like, how old are you? 18? Whoa. Like there's also that aspect, but I think it's normal. Anyway, like, you gotta like keep in mind how.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I was talking
Shock, brother. Stay out of jail.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, I think I didn't even ask like how old are you. I think I asked her, oh, what are you studying? And she was like, oh, I'm still in high school. I was like, whoa. Yeah. Last year. It's like, dang, is that 18?
Right.
No.
I actually, disturbingly, isn't the age here in Finland like younger? Isn't it like 16 or something?
Like what do you mean?
Like in terms of the legal age?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I actually have no idea. Don't quote me, guys. I'm not actually saying this for any reason.
Not that I've done the mistake,
No.
But anyway.
But sorry.
Just like I got to talk with many of these young people, and I realized how easily distracted they are. Even what we're doing now, we're having a conversation, right? And we go back to, if we get lost into one of the sub-arguments, we go back to the previous argument.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we missed a couple like to go back to, but we can do that. Like in a way, sometimes it's also good not to go back to one and you choose, but you have that consciousness. This is the conversation we are carrying on. We went from this to this to this to this. And then, if we go into one, as we did now with this, 18 years old, damn, like girls 18 years old, dangerous. And then we go back to the one previous, young people, what do I want to say? They lost this ability.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, like many people I interacted with.
Many young people.
Many people I talked to, they're like this young people, they couldn't do it. Like, honestly, I think they couldn't. I don't know if they were putting effort into it, but like normally when you have a conversation, you just do it normally, naturally. No. They just got lost in the next input. And I think this is highly dependent on this kind of communication, social media and use, because think about it, like it's very, I think, obvious when you think about how your brain works. It's like your brain is a generalistic machine that when you train to do something, you get good at it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you train yourself to be passively in front of a screen, you get good at it. Right? If you train yourself to always have an innovative thought, you get good at it. It's like a law that is in whatever. The more you train, like focus, train on doing something, the more you get good at it. That's why you can get good at so weird things.
Right.
Like your brain is a very incredible machine that is like very generalistic. It adapts to what is the need.
So what do you do to make sure that social media doesn't completely consume you? Do you have...
Oh, like what's the prevention mechanism? Like save yourself?
Like how do you make sure that you have some sort of control? If you have any control. Maybe you're watching your phone right now and I don't even know.
The second eye, it's like just not using it. Like using it in a conscious way. I think
I like that.
Oh, I think one thing I remember that I started to do when I noticed that, oh damn, like the time I spent on reels flew away and I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That is one mechanism was that I asked myself this question, or I said to myself, do you remember what you have seen 5 reels ago? Right. If the answer is no, stop using it, because you're not conscious anymore. Right. And what I try to do now is to use it with more like a conscious mind and have like a moment to reflect on the single thing, pausing it. This is because this is one of the tricks that they figured out. The automatic play. It was one of the greatest invention of YouTube, right? So that they have the autoplay, by the way, on YouTube is deactivate the thing as much as you can, because
TikTok doesn't allow you to just...
It's based on it. It's such, it doesn't give you time to reflect on what you just saw, right? It's like input.
You're right.
Yeah. Right? So having like a moment where, you can just, I'll get on Instagram. I don't use TikTok, I don't know. But like,
neither do I. Hate TikTok.
you're not famous on it?
No, I just find that it goes out of its way to really get you addicted to it. At least Instagram tries to act like it gives you a chance to pause, to whatever. TikTok, it's a mission to pause. It plays. It's annoying. But anyway, sorry.
Okay. Interesting. I just remember some of the accusation moved to TikTok. I don't really know if they are true because I didn't check this. That I thought it would have been possible, technologically speaking, that they were taking screenshot of your screen also when you were not using the app, so that they could understand you better, what you like better.
Really?
Yeah, like see the color pattern. You can easily kind of identify the color pattern and then have it in the system that kind of suggests to you the content that has more like matching color pattern. And that they also, when you use the app, they use the front camera, to see if your pupils were dilated or not, to see if you were getting excited or not, and then kind of suggest content based on that.
It's pretty
I
scary.
think it's very technologically possible, but I don't know if it's true. So take this as a
I would not be surprised if that turned out to be true. I'd be like, oh,
I don't know if now it's possible though, like because I don't know, I am not an Apple user, but I think Apple's even better than Android in this. But there is permissions for the app, so
yeah,
you need to consciously give the permission. Now, the probably many people just click OK all the time, they don't even read what they click OK to, because terms and conditions, whatever. So
the EU has done quite a good job at being an umbrella for a lot of these things.
Yeah,
like they've
Copy
like WhatsApp and stuff, like it's encrypted on both sides. Like Facebook is not allowed to read that. I think, I'm not quite sure. And also that's the reason why Threads, the Instagram, Twitter kind of app, the reason why it took so long here is because they asked for so much information, and the EU, if I'm not mistaken, was like, nah, doesn't work like that. Yeah. But anyways, sorry, continue. Yeah.
No, I lost my wire. Oh, I got influenced by social. No, what was the mechanism that I used to kind of prevent? Well, in a way, being conscious. Yeah. Well, I use it with a purpose. Like, have a purpose.
Right.
Like, have a purpose in mind. You can use the same tool, but have like a complete different mind, like thought pattern, and like how do you even express this? Like,
I think I understand
when you have something in mind, like you can use that. Well, I guess that the best way to say is like you can be passive or active.
Yeah.
Right. So in a way, if I'm using Instagram, like I think if I open my Instagram now, like you see like all dancing videos and acrobatics, because I consciously spend time saying, okay, hey, let me see if there is some moves that I can record, and then what I do normally, I record the screen and then I keep them in like a folder in my gallery, so that then when there is the moment, either that I train with someone, like ask a friend, hey, do you want to train together, dance some new move or something, or it happens just spontaneously, or I am at a dancing social and then I just want to have some inspiration on some other moves that I can try there, then I go there and do that. So I find it very useful for my dancing life, right? So in a way, that's the purpose when I look at those. Right? So I kind of try to keep those, that purpose in mind. And if I recognize that I lost it, I just turn it off. Or like, stop to use the app. And like, I think, okay, one of the, I don't know if everybody has this, but I think it's hard to say, because this is the way how you think, and it's almost impossible to see how other people think unless you consciously speak about everything.
Right.
But to me, it's more like a mechanism that I think is connected with what my mother taught me about purchases. Is, nearby where I'm from, there is this big commercial center. It's called Audio Center. So I don't know if it's still the biggest in Europe, but it's huge.
Right.
So when we went to buy something or to shop, we went to a clothing shop or something, whatever it was, and I liked something. Like I'm thinking myself as a teenager, 15 years old, whatever, and I liked something. What my mother taught me to do all the time is, okay, you like, good, put it down. And now we go somewhere else. If you like it so much you really want it, we will come back for it. This
So
is
just giving that little gap, right?
this is the pause,
Yeah.
right? Because your brain in that moment is just stimulated by the liking or the emotion about that thing, and you're not rationally thinking, you know. So to have this pause, like change scenery or like change thinking pattern that you have in your brain, then it allows you to have a break from that, and then in time, it needs to take you a little bit of effort to go back to it, so that you measure how much actually you want the thing by the effort that you're willing to do to get it. Right. The same thing with social media.
Sounds like trying to get a relationship with someone.
Well, many of the things are, relationship connected. I told you before, this is like something that I use a lot to understand situation in life. It is like, to me, I use romantic relationship dynamics to understand dynamics in other part of life.
Okay, try to break that down for me a little bit.
Well, I'd like to give you an example. It's just I don't have something that pops in my mind, but let's see if I can recall.
The wineskin, the idea of being in a romantic relationship, that dynamic, you try and apply that to normal things in life.
Mm-hmm.
In general.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, well, this is more like generalistic. Okay.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
but I could do this. I think is one of example. I don't have anything better in mind, but okay. Do you know who are the people that in a romantic relationship would be the most jealous? People that cheat the most.
Oh.
So, and this is kind of, if you think about it, it's because if you are a cheater, you're cheating on your partner or relationship. And I cannot tell this by experience because I've never cheated in my life on a romantic partner. So, and I will continue to do this way. But of course, I have friends that have done it. I come from Italy, so almost everyone. It's crazy. Almost everybody, but like anyway. So in a way, like I have experience, not direct but indirect of that, and it is also like understandable in a way how you think. You have that thought many times a day, right? So it's really in your life, and normally when you have assumption about somebody else or anything else, you assume things that you are familiar with, right? That happening in your life. So if I am a cheater and I see a behavior that is similar to the one I have, then I assume that you are a cheater as well, right? Because that's what I know, right? So in a way, it's easy to understand that this, actually, works that way. Right. So people that are then cheaters, they're the most jealous because they're the most afraid of it, because they know that the risk is that the threat is very real because they are the first one doing it. Right. So in a way,
I guess that makes sense.
You can apply this also to other situations, for example, work related. If there is someone that free rides a lot, that in working hours they do other things, they would assume that of other people if they see a similar behavior, a similar pattern, right? For example, if there is a manager that free rides a lot, then when they will see a reduction in productivity of someone, they'll be like, oh, you're starting to free ride now. And then they will start to, find whatever kind of reasons that, maybe you had an argument of whatever sort. And that, because of that now he's free riding, he's not really working hard as before. And maybe instead, like the reason are completely something different. Like, maybe the guy just got a child and cannot sleep well at night, or maybe it's just stressed because of a breakout. Whatever it is, right. There could be many reasons. But when you assume something, so you didn't have a conversation with that person, you didn't talk about the topic, you just assume something. And assuming things is something we need to do all the time. It's like it's most energy efficient for our brain. It's like why we refer to stereotypes rather than investigate every single person. It's just more energy efficient, very useful, works very well. But in a way, like you can see this. So, it's the kind of the same, similar dynamic. They will assume someone is free riding. And this is, to me, very powerful once you understand this. So I used, romantic relationship framework to another framework. And by this specific instance as an example, is very useful because when you understand this, then you can understand a lot more from the person that is assuming something in a conversation about them. This is the classic situation where you say, all these questions tells me more about you than about me.
Right, fair enough. Like that woman in the bar, in the nightclub, who wanted to know if you've got the rape drug. it's like,
Yeah, well,
what kind of question? The fuck?
well, that is very like direct. No, but I mean also when there is an assumption, or if you have a jealous girlfriend.
I've had those before. It's not fun.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, now thinking about it now, because I've definitely had, because my most recent girlfriend was lovely and amazing and all that sort of stuff. But I've had others that are just, it's jealousy to a point where it starts to become a bit unhinged, like where it's a bit crazy. Now, after hearing you, I'm like, oh shit, what the hell?
Okay, I want to let's make also like I don't want to pass the concept, especially because we recorded, that this is always the case.
No. I'm sure everyone listening understands.
It's also like, because it can also be different things. Like the general mechanism that I understood is that that person has that life experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's, if for example it's about being jealous, it doesn't mean that they are the cheater, but it may be that they have lived together with cheaters.
Yes.
Or, maybe the father or the brother was cheating all the time, or maybe some dear friends of them.
Father of the brother. I'm joking.
Or the brother.
Yeah. That was just such a. I was trying to figure out the father
Of the brother is anyway the father. Or maybe a stepfather, I don't know. Yeah, no, like
No,
they
I
have
get
lived
you.
it. Yeah,
I get
sure.
you, yeah.
But
Don't
it
worry
can, it can make you ask the question also, do you assume it because you are the one doing it?
Yeah.
Or like,
It's true, because we do like to, what is the word? When you feel something and then you reflect it on someone else. Deflection, or
you project it.
what's that?
Projected.
Yeah. When you project something on someone else, we do that a lot.
But I would like to talk about the jealousness, but I need to take a toilet break.
Yeah, go for it, and then I'll probably go after you, because I also need. I've got. We were running low on time a little bit, but I've got so many questions.
Oh, I can talk for a long time, don't worry.
Yeah, there's just, because I do want to get to bachata, and I want to hear your story about that,
okay.
and that sort of stuff. But one thing I'm interested in is your perspective on relationships.
Ooh, it gets juicy.
And that sort of stuff.
Do you have another couple of hours, because it's gonna be like long?
Because like, I've realized now that there's a part of me that is actually quite afraid of relationships, romantic ones, and for several reasons.
Well, if you want, I can take a notebook and lay down. I'm gonna take notes. I can help you through that.
I'm just like, I think I've realized about myself that a part of me does have an avoidance kind of mental attitude towards relationship at times. And when I self-analyze, I think it's because, I work really hard to keep my emotions steady, or to create routines that keep me on a nice level. But the problem is, when you fall in love with someone,
your brain goes gaga.
That, and you give them power over how you feel.
Yeah,
And
that's scary.
No matter how often I tell myself, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about me, that's bullshit.
That's bullshit. Is that, why are you even telling you that? It's like, it's not true.
And then so, I've had the privilege of being in a relationship before where the person, the lady I was dating was, she was mature and awesome in that way and whatever, but there were still aspects of that, right? And I've also had the displeasure of being in a relationship where the other person, you find that your life is mostly about trying to keep emotionally stable because
it's dysfunctional.
Yeah, because of what someone else is bringing to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's made me very wary of it, where I'm just like, But in your overview of relationships, and what is the point of them? Why would you want one? And what would you hope for in the future? Those are big questions.
So, okay, let's see how. Okay, those are big questions. I'm kind of trying to gather how can I tell you something that is remotely meaningful.
Right.
And by the way, I like this. We are listened all the time.
Yeah. We're in this.
What is this? Just is this Google?
Yeah, I think it just heard us talking and
And he was like, "Do you want to talk about relationship?" No way. I want to take part of it too.
anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, give me a
Thinking
second.
too.
I'll let you think about that for a moment. Just work, bro.
By the way, I feel very at home that you're using that because I use that as well.
Oh, fireplace.
Yeah.
Ah, nice. Yeah. No, I love this. For people watching, there's a TV right next to me here, and I put a fireplace on, like a fake fireplace. It just creates a homely vibe. But yeah,
I like that.
continue.
So, okay, maybe I'll think out loud with you and see what comes out of it.
Right.
You know, that's the purpose of the podcast. So after all, it's not about like a. But anyway, I'll take this from like a zoom out a bit and take this from a further away perspective. Speaking about relationship, because I think that's the most helpful. Somehow I would start with the basic questions like, what is a relationship? Like, what do we mean when we talk about relationship? So let's define the vocabulary we use first so we are sure to understand each other. Relationship, what I mean is when you have two individuals at least being engaged with one another in a routinary way. Right. So, and that can be, you know, even there is even a working relationship. There's like a friendship is a relationship, you know, all that. Now, when we talk about romantic relationship, is when you have that plus you both want to have romance in that relationship.
Yeah.
And that it entails all the emotions and feelings of love or sexual pleasure or even like, let's say, togetherness and a feeling of company, right? So all that is that kind of romantic relationship. Now, why to engage in a romantic relationship? Well, it's because it should be giving you good feelings, right? So I think one of the most...
That's a good place to start.
Right? Yeah. That's like one of the most kind of... one of the sentences stuck with me the most, that one girl I was seeing said, and I was certain that was not going to be a person I wanted to have a relationship with, was just company and sexual pleasure, right? And we both knew that nothing long-term would have, and we were clear about that. So that's very important as well. I think she said once, "Oh, this is supposed to be fun, and now I don't feel it anymore. I don't have this sensation anymore, not as much as we wanted to. So maybe it's better if we don't, you know, see each other anymore." And that stuck with me because it's very right. Like this is supposed to be fun. So to recognize the moment where it's not anymore, that's very important. Because at that point, it's like, okay, you know, and this is difficult because in whatever relationship, you also are there for each other in the bad times.
Yeah. So there has to be a level of, we got to push through this.
Exactly. Because that's what you do. Like even in, I think, marriage, in monogamous couples, it's a promise. You know, it's a vow. It's something that you do, that you take, because that allows you to have peace of mind. You know, you basically say to each other, I am not going to do this. I restrict my freedom in pursuing anything romantic with anybody else and sexual with anybody else. And I am with you. So I am getting stuck with you for here on, right? And you do that because it's very efficient, energetically speaking. Think about if you would need to think all the time that there is a potential threat that this person will leave you. How do you go through the hard time? Because a relationship also for that is to kind of support each other also during the hard times. Like I'm here for you and you're here for me. Like when you're going to have a bad time, I'm going to be there for you nurturing you, helping you going through like a bad time. And a bad time could also be for a long, long time. One person could get depressed. So what is the partner doing? Like, if you're married, that's what it means. Like, you're also there when for 2 years of depression of this person, you're there to kind of help them, try to support them as much as you can, right? That's what it means. Now, it's a hell of a vow. It's a hell of a thing. Like, do you really want this? The first question you should ask yourself. Like, because...
So a marriage isn't to be taken lightly, right? Because it's a big commitment.
Exactly. I take promises very seriously.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons why it fucks me up when someone says, oh, you promised. No, I didn't. When you say like, oh yeah, I'll meet you there. And then, oh, you promised. No. No. Say that I will say or do something is one thing. Say, I do promise I will do that thing. Very different. Okay, very different. At least in my mind works that way. I know your English language, it kind of works more like, oh yeah, you promised it. Just if you say that you will do it.
Yeah.
No. For me, it's
like, I didn't promise shit.
Right, like the mental difference, and there's like the thinking difference of this. It's like when you say, oh yeah, I'll do something, I am expressing the intention of carrying on that action. Right? When I say, I promise to do this, I will take responsibility to make sure that no matter what, this action will happen. Very different.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Right. So for me, so promises, I take it very seriously. Marriages, I think, is very, 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 very serious matter. So asking yourself, and in asking yourself, do I really want this? Is a very valid question, because think about that as a terms of our society. It changed so much, even in the last decades.
Yeah.
Right? So the purpose of kind of marriage is to have family, right?
Yeah.
Like the kind of, if you want to speak about, how people organize themselves, to have a monogamous marriage is the most efficient way to go through the experience of having a family. So organizing a family together.
It's like the beginning of a system in itself, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's the bedrock of a system.
And if you think about this, it's also like, okay, we also need to kind of enter a little bit more in different cultures. If not, we can refer to different things and understand wrong each other. But like, for example, in, I think kind of Western society, right, more kind of how it works nowadays, is that there is this system where basically the family, it's on its own. In Finland, especially, it's very individualistic as a culture. So, you have your family, is you have the support of your grandparents and your kind of closest family members, in a way that, for example, if you need to take care of the kids for a while, give a breather to the mother and the father from the kids, because of course you need that, like, it's heavy. So in a way, I think that's how, like, the general system we will refer to as kind of family system, but in all cultures it works in a very different way. Like, in Egypt, for example, where people still live all together, there's one building where the family is composed by 3 generations, cousins, and, like, they live all together. And it's very different, and they have combined marriage. So in a way, it's also funny if thinking about it. Like, when I was in Cairo, I asked this, and I got invited into people's house, and kind of they explained to me how there is combined marriage, and you should not have sexual relationship before marriage. But it's not really true. People do have anyway. But anyway, it's you should not speak about it. And how it works is that with combined marriage is that you may express the interest for an individual. Like, yeah, man, you're like, oh, I like that girl. And you say that to whatever family members you have. Then they all spend time investigating that person.
Yeah, damn.
So to find out, they talk with the family members of that person and other people to find out, is that a good person? Is that like a good match for the person we have in our family member?
Right.
So thinking about that is like, for us, is first reaction is like, what the fuck? It's like so bad. Like, no. Like, feel like,
shit.
yeah, I feel like everybody's like doing my business, like, taking, like, looking in my private stuff as, it's like, yike. But if you think about it in a different perspective, it's like if you would hire 13 investigators to find out if that person that you're interested in is good. Mm-hmm. Think about the power of that.
Yeah,
it's like, and they care. It's not just for men, they care, because that person is going to be in their family then.
Right.
It's like if you have like a hiring process with other people involved.
So it's basically in different cultures, basically what you're trying to say is relationships have a different flavor.
The family organization
is
working maybe in different ways, right? But marriage is what kind of, for us, kind of Western society, is what is used for go through the experience of having a family, like the best way to actually have a family, right? But nowadays, beside the fact, everybody's speaking about this, how natality ratio is going like drastically down, and so it's like, are you gonna have kids?
Me personally, I would love to.
But then a marriage maybe is a good form to organize your intention to have kids.
Oh no, for sure. I think the idea of having children has always been a big part of my heart. And also I'm a big believer in people having kids, where nowadays it seems like the message that you get, especially in films and stuff, is, it's better to be a single parent, or like families breaking up and that sort of stuff. I watched Avatar, The Way of Water.
Yeah.
It's the first movie in a long time I watched where it was actually about a family, like actually being together, and the dad isn't an idiot, the mom isn't just a strong, independent woman, like,
I like how you did it, like, because it's very iconic. It's like, yes, we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, because no one is doubting that a woman can be strong and independent, but movies these days have just been trying so hard where they're like, to be strong, independent, this woman's got no faults, she's super powerful, she can freaking do anything. Like the Star, I don't really care about Star Wars, but like Ray Palpatine or whatever, it's her first time holding a lightsaber and she can beat up like everyone. I'm like, wait, what is going on? But anyway, so after watching The Way of Water, it really touched something inside of me. But now this is where it gets tricky for me, is because you have to be in a place to find someone to be.
You mean like a mental place?
Mental, financial, emotional place to be thinking that way. I mean, I'm getting older now, and there is more of a space in my head now where if I were to date someone, I'm not just well.
I like how the brain got to the self-checking process.
Yeah.
Like, wait a moment. But this is exactly the process we were talking about before, about scientific paper. Like, did they just say
Yeah, because I was just like,
verified check?
what's that
check.
smell? I smell bullshit. And it was coming from myself.
Yeah, well, that's I love when people do that.
Yeah.
Because it's way better. Because this doesn't happen. No, like, in the kind of way how you speak, how you talk, like you process information, and how what's called this dialectical intelligence.
Yeah.
You are putting like thoughts together, and you're automatically articulating them. You're not thinking how to articulate them. You're automatically doing it.
It's
right?
thing.
So it may happen that you say something that actually doesn't correspond with the truth, just because you are arguing for the concept you have in mind in that specific instance, right?
Yep.
And then there is the double checking. That's like a process that comes afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's way better than someone, like, I way prefer someone that says, I did this. Oh no, actually I lied, and I did that and done that. Right? You just did before we started the podcast, and I was like, I like this guy. Because it's really so, like, people sometimes would just like be afraid of admit that. And then what amazingly, like the amazing part that happens is that you stick with something is not true, but you convince yourself of it.
I don't know. Have you ever been caught up? Have you ever been telling a memory until halfway through the memory you realize, actually, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure it happened the way I've imagined.
Yes. Yeah, it happens. It's just it's a normal brain function process.
So, do you want kids?
Whew. I am not sure. I like the idea of having kids, and I'll tell you why. It's not like I am more pragmatical and rational than I think most of the people I know. It's not about the emotion.
Right.
But in my rationality, I do consider emotion. Like this is something most people don't understand. I think that emotion and rationality are opposite. No, I think like emotions
work together.
Yeah, I think somehow like I take emotions more like inputs. Like
That's a great way of putting
like
it.
it's like what's fear? Fear is like a thermometer temperature indicator.
Yeah.
Like it gives you data.
Yeah.
Right. So I take that into consideration, of course, in my rational mind of considering the future scenarios, because fear is really real, right? So, but of course, you should also take it in consideration. We will get to speak about jealousness, and I think that's something that it's very much related to this topic. But anyway, in a way, like in a rational mind related to wanting to have kids is, I like the experience. I think I will like the experience of raising kids, because it will give me a chance to reevaluate reality once again through the eyes of my kids, right? So, you rediscover the world when you see them being surprised about something you give for granted all the time. Plus, I think it will be like I am a weirdo, and I know and enjoy it and I love it and I don't care. It is, for me, it will be amazing to test different things with my kids. I love learning processes. So I would just like use my kids as guinea pigs for learning process and kind of make experiments, like testing how do they learn better, this and this and that. If I do this, then they like, is there a scheme? Is there like a, using them as a kind of to write scientific papers about my kids. I imagine that
Right.
It's absolutely something that I think I would love and enjoy. Now, I think that it depends where I will get in life. Many people, okay, I don't know many people, but like in a way,
You did it.
yeah, just self-correcting. But in a way, I think there is an idea out there that is also related to, someone says it doesn't matter where you are. Like this place that you're describing, they say it doesn't matter if you are in the right place. You can start a family whenever, and then you get to the right place by having a family. It will grow on you, and you'll just adapt to it. And I understand the logic of that, because I do understand that humans, especially when they're put like in under pressure, they do crazy performances. They like sometime, even like work-related situations, like if you give responsibility to someone, to one of your employee, you see automatically that person changes and it improves dramatically just by changing their perspective in the company, because they are the responsible ones, so they need to be the one doing the things right. It's not that someone tells them what to do anymore.
Yeah.
So that is very empowering, and just by changing perspective in a way, as a father, like becoming a father, you will start doing things in a different way, probably, most likely, even if you didn't think you are right in the place where you would want to be to start to become a father. So
I can imagine you as a dad, by the way. But continue.
well,
I mean, take that as a compliment. I think it's,
thank you.
you seem to have a quite a solid mind, and I think there are so many kids being born today, and I'm sure so many of us who've experienced being raised by people that we love, but who are not very stable, and then it causes a bunch of issues. I think that every stable person out there needs to have kids so that humanity can be a little bit better. But anyway, sorry, I thought I'd throw that.
It's an interesting concept. Like,
Yeah.
would you have kids for yourself, or would you have kids for society?
It depends.
Like, this is the same as, do you vote for yourself, or do you vote for society?
Do I have kids for myself or for society?
Like, would you be willing to go through the experience and also struggle to have a family for society?
Depends how hot my wife is. If she's great, hey, bro, I'll pop six of them out.
Well, that's the thing. Like, maybe this is also like a mentality that I think we male especially have been raised like this. At least I am sure I have been raised like this.
Right.
That you got to be the one carrying out things. You're going to be the one solving the problem. You're going to be the one that has the weight on your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
You got to carry the thing.
Is this men in general, I would think?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think like I think it's also how we are hardwired. It's not
Be
just
careful. People are going to, I can already tell whenever I talk about things like this, how men feel a general sense of responsibility in general. People in the comments will always say that it's patriarchy or it's social conditioning and it's toxic masculinity. But anyway, I'm just throwing that out there because anyway.
yeah.
But yes, I get you.
So let me specify my sources. I do not have verified sources of this claim, right? So like I have to say, like I think like what I say, like I think we are hardwired that way. Is just because I am not sure that cultural influence that surely plays the majority of the role in influencing this aspect in kind of male versus female mentality. Definitely, yes. It's nurture, not nature.
Yeah.
For the majority of it. But I think I'm suspecting there is also a little part that is nature, not 100% nurture. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So-
I mean, that is verifiable scientifically. Yeah.
Like I think it's also well scientifically okay. I can cite this, not cite because I don't remember the source, but you can go verify this. In a way, the difference between male and female, like what has been kind of measurable and measured, that is a kind of a natural difference, is that male tend to be more aggressive.
Yes.
Right?
For
So
sure.
that
Just look at the
already-
prisons, mostly filled with men. No, I'm saying like the amount of women in prison is minuscule compared to the amount of men in prison. If you take it over the world,
But are they like in prison for like aggression or like violence charges?
in prison for violent crime,
Okay, yeah.
men far outweigh. But even in everything, even in being able to sell drugs and being able to grand theft auto, whatever, men are just. It's not even in comparison. It's not like there's just so many men in prison compared to the amount of women.
What's the ratio, more or less?
I actually have no idea.
Okay.
I
Vaguely. No, but don't take this as a kind of data, hard data. Like vaguely.
yeah, I would, if I were to guess, I would say, and I'd be interested to Google this. I would say,
ChatGPT. Like that's.
oh yeah, check it out. Actually, the ratio of men.
What is the ratio of men and women in prison for violent charges in Finland? Let's see if it give us like something interesting, juicy. Maybe now it's like, oh, there are actually more women in it.
That would be super interesting.
Oh, I think nice. I don't know if it is loading too much.
Or if we just ask for
specific numbers, it might be helpful to look directly at reports from the Finnish Prison and Probation Service or National Crime Statistics.
So it doesn't happen.
or ask for the world in general. Like in general, what is the ratio between men and women in jail for violent crime? I'm quite intrigued now.
I think maybe actually Googling if maybe there is something more precise, like man versus, maybe Statista has something.
Let me see. Violent crime. Man.
Statista, the prison gender gap.
Oh yeah, that's a.
Okay, this is now for violent crimes, but there is 93.2% male and 6.8% female.
Okay, so I wasn't. I swear I'd seen that somewhere, but I just didn't remember. But
So it's crazy.
yeah, it's completely just worlds apart.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's why it's so important to talk about things like masculinity and trying to shine a light on what that looks like in
Toxic
in a good way. Yeah. And I think that people talk about toxic masculinity so much where everyone now thinks that masculinity in itself is evil in some way. It's just,
Yeah, true.
and they don't understand that the most violent people are actually, inverted commas, weak men. Like a weak man is someone who will hit a woman, someone who is weaker than them, right? Like in
Depends what you
terms,
mean. What do you mean
but
weak? Because if someone could say like a physically weak or
no, no, no. When I'm talking about weak in that aspect, I'm specifically not talking about the physicality.
mental strength.
I'm talking about the mental strength. If you are confident in yourself, right? There is no way you're going to lay your hands on someone who's physically weaker than you because you're trying to make a point, you know,
I
to
think
beat the shit out of them. Like for me, that's just like
I think it's
that's
very true, but it's also
that's wild.
challengeable in because also kind of cultural differences. Like
Oh yeah, true.
take in consideration, for example, the Arabic world.
Yeah,
If
that's
you
a whole
that,
can of
that's
worms, yeah.
the habits, and that is like when the point.
But it's also in their religion.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what. But this is also the mistake. Like it's right. It's not about toxic masculinity. That's like a cultural problem.
Yeah.
Cultural difference. And do we want to stick with that, or do we want to stick with our way of having our culture, right? Because this is obviously like it's always too easy to use your point of view to say something is right just because it matches what you know. Right?
True.
It's also like, I think this is something that I would appreciate if people start to do a lot more, because when I have conversation, this is, and it's natural. I understand that this is like a natural effect, but I think somewhat in such an educated country as Finland, I saw that more than in Italy, but I wish also in the whole Western society this would be way more, is that when you consider point of view, don't jump into take sides. Right, this is what we do naturally. Like, you go to a football team, you choose one team and you root for that team. Even if you never even watched football before. And that's nice because that's what you like about the experience, being together with the fan of that team, right?
Yeah.
So what happens most of the time, if you go with a group of friends that watches football or Formula One, whatever it is, and they are all fan of one car or one team, or you vote for that or you route for that one, right? Because you want to be together with your friends. That's the experience that you want, right? But in kind of doing argumentation like about logical or abstract concept, that is really deleterious. That's really bad, because you start to pick a side and you start to focus only on how to argue pro that side without really realizing that you didn't really take a moment to have a conscious evaluation of the two sides from a third point of view. They're trying to be objective.
I completely get you. I mean, this is probably going to get me in trouble, but I agree with you to a point, to most things, but I think there are certain things that I think are indisputable in, at least in my reflection of how it affects society and how those societies function. So, for example, here, although in Finland, domestic abuse is sky high, it's still a massive thing.
Right.
It's surprisingly, but you can get put in jail because of it. Like, and there's a way for you to get out of it sometimes, and all that sort of stuff. Society has agreed that laying your hands on your partner is fucked up, right? And I believe that is better for society than a society that views it as all right to do so. In terms of,
Do you think that's indisputable?
what's that?
Do you think that is indisputable?
I think it's indisputable because it goes against our fundamental driving force inside of us that tells us that hurting other people is wrong. I think a child,
I think
I think even most children at some point, because they know what it's like to be hurt, when you give them a scenario of, I'm reading this book called Righteous Mind. It kind of goes into that, where a child, you tell them a story of another child pushing someone else, and then a child instinctively knows that is wrong because it doesn't feel good. So now the effects of controlling people with violence means that, number one, they probably don't really care much about you inside. It's just driven by fear. Number two, the negative effects it has on the mentality of people who've experienced domestic violence is insane. And number three, by using physical violence, you're basically telling someone else that your argumentation is that shit that the only way you can make the other person see your viewpoint is by violently imposing your will on them, which in my perspective is completely against democracy and against anything that makes the Western world work. Because outside of the Western world, I'm sorry, but all the democracies that I've seen fall short. I mean, even Western democracy falls short in a lot of ways, but I don't see anything better. Like, I look and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll stay on this side of things.
Yeah. Okay, I think this is a good input for a broader conversation that could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But I want to remind that we need to go talk about jealousness and relationship, because that's like, but
Oh yeah, we were talking about
it could be connectable to this.
Okay, try.
Okay,
Try,
what you
Mr.
I will
Sewing
challenge
Man.
what you say in a way that wait, were you saying something like I need to go somewhere? Sorry, man. Were you saying like sorry, man, I need to have a break or something?
No.
Okay.
No, I was saying sewing man because you can knit them together.
Okay. Okay, I think what you said about this is undisputable, because I think that
To me,
um,
and not just to me, in terms of
I mean, I disagree with your opinion.
okay,
That is to you, because I think that is disputable. I totally agree with what you said about the points that you made, and I think that's also why I am in Western society, and I am absolutely agreeing with this. And I think that's like the right way to think about that, like taking the bare human reaction and emotions, and from there define how is the best way to organize things and how we want to organize it. So then all the measures that we take to prevent or promote something.
and using data, right? Just comparing someone who grows up in a house where there's violence and someone who grows up in a house that there's no violence.
That's like, I think that's like the practical application.
Yeah.
But like even remaining in the so abstract, let's so to say, imagine we could know everything, right? Imagine you're the god and controls this, everything. Like, how would you want to do? How do you think is the best to proceed, right? And in an abstract level, I think that's the best way to go, like conceptually, from like raw human emotions to define what do we want to do,
Yes.
right? And how, and to what's the best way forward. But I think it's still disputable, because, okay, think about this, taking an example and learning from history. Now we consider slavery a no-go way, right? That's a recent thing. I think it's like 200 years this side, or 200 something. Before it was like, of course slaves are like, what do you even mean slaves are not okay? Like, it's,
Right.
It's something that for thousands of years has been seen as an obvious truth. So not believing in that wasn't a thing. Now, note believe. And that is the key point, because as we humans are able to organize ourselves together, we are able to do so because we are able to believe and have a common belief in something. Now, this common belief is something that historically has been very useful. Even religion pull people together to do certain things that has been good or bad, whatever, but was able to pull people together to have a common belief, right? Even like nations, if you want, is a common belief. What's being Finnish? Like, what's the difference than being, from the neighbor, being Swedish? Or like, what's the difference between being like, in Karelia, or like in the first, Russian cities near Finland? It's a belief. It's like the belief of the nation is one belief. It doesn't really exist. There's no wall around the nation.
And also,
right?
I guess the cultural things that tie people together, the language, the things that people do in general. Like, for example, here in Finland people act a certain way.
Let me challenge that.
Like those are like that's what a nationalism, right? And because
nationalism.
before it was all about empires and kingdoms, where an empire stretched across many countries, and then as things began to change, and then you had like these different, like the freaking the French Revolution and all that sort of shit, where people began to realize that, hey, maybe instead of fighting for some king or some kingdom,
We just cut their head.
Yeah, have language in common. We have culture in common. We look very similar. We can be a nation, and and places usually function better. I mean, people hate it, but places function better when people are tied together with a similar belief. They look the same, or they have things that bind them culturally.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, those beliefs are, I think, what kind of allows us to organize.
Yeah, true.
So
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
But it's very like
Yeah.
It's funny because you said the same thing that I was arguing about, like you know, in your free talk. So in a way, like it is a proof of it. In a way, this belief is kind of one of the main key that holds the kind of organization structure of human society together, right? So I think it needs to be very clear what are our belief in our society and what is our society based on in terms of belief, to understand, do we want to keep them, change and challenge them, and so on, but to be conscious of why are we where we are. In a way, you know, now we, for example, slavery or even, you know, women versus men, you know, in the medieval, women was a property.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, this is my mistake. It's not an object I possess, and I can do whatever I want with it. And it would have been absolutely weird if I would not hit my woman when she does something wrong, because I do hit my donkey. How could I not come hit my woman? You know, it's like it's a terms of belief, right? Now, I think that prosperity has given us the time to think more about this. And I think this is also the reason why after the kind of industrial revolution, things have moved way faster in terms also on kind of development of societal rules in a way. Right. You know, if you think about it for like so many years, centuries, there has been like the same system somewhat, you know, one person king and all those, or like the, whatever, like a representative of the religion or so. So in a way, like much has been happening in a relative short period of time.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll tell you this more like in a storytelling experience. I think is more appealing. When I went in my trouble, like I left my life from Italy and I started to travel and I went abroad, and I was in New Zealand and I've been there for like 7 months. And in that period of time, I challenged, like I tried to understand this, like why are we where we are? What defines what's right and what's wrong in the first place? And if more you think about it, the more there isn't any right and wrong objectively. What is even right and wrong? Like,
Maybe.
yeah. What are the when you want to define like in a really broad, like raw term, right and wrong? Right. Then you need to put a point of view in it. If not, there is like what for the universe, what's right and wrong, right? So in a way, you always need to have a point of view and a perspective. Now, if you want to take that as a humanity, you know, what's better or worse? Not right and wrong, better or worse. Right and wrong is only when you have rules. Like, you know, if you say, okay, like, you know, the rules of football and you make a fault, that's wrong by rules.
Yeah.
Right? If you say what's better and worse, then you're considering to put an input and get an outcome. Right? So that's a little more like forgiving. Then if you consider that from like a human point of view and to understand, okay, why are we where we are? Then it's like, okay, what are our beliefs in the first place, right? Not considering any religion in the moment, or like I am not religious, so I don't consider that, or didn't consider that in the time. I was trying to understand, okay, we believe in equality of gender. Oh, I strongly believe in equality of gender. Now, why do I believe that? Like, what makes me believe in that? Well, I live in a society that supports that. Okay, why is it so? And then you go a little bit backwards, and you understand that you go back to the human rights after World War II, and you understand, okay, we made this set of rules, we defined the rules that we want to obey to.
Yeah.
Right? And then, so let's make it right. Some people made the set of rules that we wanted to have for everybody, and then they made this list, send it to all the countries, to make it a very simple way, and every country started to put or create laws that would make people respect things based on those rules, right?
I would push back and say, because I mean, this gets dangerously close to an argument about what if there's objective truth in the universe at all, or objective right and wrong. But I will say that it's not even that people created a bunch of rules. I think politics and laws and stuff, they are a reflection of something that is intrinsically within us, in terms of people have an argument of whether right and wrong is something that we are born with inside, if it's something that we discover as we grow up, or if we just blank slates and we just take in what society gives us. It's still an argument that is happening now. But I think I would argue that even, let's take slavery as an example, right? Was there a time when slavery was more common? Yes, for sure, 100%. Was it like that because it was right and good? Now, I think that is an interesting question, because there's so many things you can try pull apart from that. Okay, number one is the fact that society looked different, right? In terms of how someone was able to make money, or how someone was able to live, how there were no machinery to be able to do things and whatever. Because, I mean, slavery is still alive today, 100%. Like in Africa and stuff, how we get shit in our phones, like our phones and whatever, it's definitely still around. But I would argue that even back then, if someone was able to spend time talking to another person who was a slave and was able to, let's say they got lost on an island together and they helped each other out, I would bet all my money on the fact that after leaving that island, if they were able to survive, after leaving that island, the slaver would see the humanity in the other person. If they helped each other out, they survived. I would struggle to see them go back and he's like, okay, now lick my ass, or whatever the case is. I think that the fact that humans are intrinsically valuable is always there. Was it harder for people to see? For sure. I think that society can accept certain things, but it doesn't mean it's right. You know, the Nazis made it legal to imprison Jews and that sort of stuff. It was societal. Doesn't mean it was right. You know, and then someone might say, then what is right and what is wrong? And this is where things get interesting, because although I'm not religious, I think it's actually more logical to believe that there is an objective truth that we are intrinsically, whether we know it or not, trying to live up to, than it is that we are just kind of making rules as we go. Like, okay, it was all right to rape and kill people before, but now it's not all right. I think there was always something there. And I guess this is the point where we needed a third person who's more religious, who can rock us with that thing. But but think about it. Christianity, as an example, a lot of the values that we hold.
Okay, wait. Let me stop you there, because I think that will be like another big topic.
Oh, yeah,
I just wanted I will push back on your pushback.
Okay, pushback on my pushback.
This is what I like to enjoy a lot in the conversation, because I think it's like when you really kind of give to each other different point of views.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's the point where you can actually you can have a chance to learn like a different point of view. So I think somehow in the reasoning you made about, let's take two people from the past and put them on an island, and one was a slave, one was not. I think you are using naturally your own mindset to put yourself in the shoes of those people. And you have an open mind, just like open mind and like a mindset that is of this century. Like, so it's very hard to actually imagine what they would have thought, and I think I would assume that probably there would have been difference anyway. Like, I'm thinking if there would be a pharaoh and a slave of a pharaoh, that for some reason, they got lost in the Nile on a boat and they end up in an island surrounded by crocodiles and alligators, that I think the pharaoh would have been the pharaoh no matter what, at any single little moment. No matter how miserable they would have been, they would have died with it. I think because that's how kind of maybe my life experience has kind of showed me how incredible strong a belief can be in the mind of people. They can completely define their life. It's that strong that they wouldn't even challenge it ever, and they can get to the point, and I think that's the definition of closed-mindedness, when you are not willing to accept something different, like a different mentality, different set of beliefs, right, and not willing to evaluate them. That's when closed-minded. That's the definition, I think, closed-minded, because open mind is the opposite. So I think that most of people are actually closed-minded. And I think that's, I don't know if there is a ratio or anything, but I think if there was, open-minded people in the past, I would assume probably they would have been a little more closed-minded, just because you don't have exposition of such a set of different variables. Like, now, today, we can travel. Like, I've been raised in a country and I've lived in different ones with different set of beliefs. By seeing the differences, then you question yourself and you question your own beliefs, because you're like, oh, they think about this in this other way, and I've never thought about it. And then you not just challenge the set, like the things you were thinking about in the different way before, respect to the culture, but you question everything, because you understand the concept that because you've been raised with this thinking, it doesn't mean it's right. So then you challenge everything, and you are open to another set of belief all the time. But I think that actually in the past, this was probably very rare, like people that could travel, maybe merchants, and so maybe they had like a more open mind because they were exposed to this. But the most of the population, they lived in a place, the same farm of the father, grandfather, and so on, and they had the same job. They had, the same dogs, the same. So I think that they probably were a lot more close-minded because of it.
I think I get what you're saying. You're basically saying because of the world we're living in now, we get to see more, and it has basically opened our minds up a lot more to be able to accept the variables.
Yeah. So
in a way, right?
The right and wrong, because that was the
right.
I think that belief is what, like, I don't know if there is, like, I guess your argument was like, oh, there is this kind of set of human emotions and feelings that is always a driver. I think beliefs is one of those, and it can be even surpassing everything else.
I think the point I'm trying to get to is, no matter where a person comes from, they can be a pharaoh, they can be a slave, they can be whatever. There's a saying that at the end of a chess game, both the king and the pawn go back into the same box. So I think that we intrinsically know that we don't live forever. We face our mortality at some point. No matter how high and powerful or mighty you are, we will all face that moment of, oh shit, right?
I imagine you on your deathbed and be like, oh shit.
Yeah, I think, and we all know what it was like to at least we can all look back at a time when we didn't exist on this earth. So I think because that is such a massive unknown, an unknown that could break a mind if you try and think about it, right?
It's a big fear.
Yeah, it's either fear for some people, it's hope, you know.
But that's why we made religion, I guess.
That's a different discussion. but I think that's why I think that if two people were stuck on an island and their lives were in danger or whatever, I think it's just the amount of time they're there. I think you can always probably rely on the fact that that aspect of things will become very clear at some point. As soon as the pharaoh realizes that, oh shit, I don't know how to catch fish. And then the other dude is like, oh shit, he can't catch fish.
No, I have the upper hand.
And then he can't help me or whatever. But I'm sure that people are still closed-minded or whatever. But I guess the point I'm trying to get to is the fact that I still think that there are certain things that promote human flourishing.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that do not. I think hitting women is a terrible thing for human flourishing. And I think it was still terrible then as it is now. Although there are still certain things, I think there are certain things that can be kind of juggled. But then there are other things that I think more people can kind of look back at and whatever. I'm not saying I've got the answer. I'm just arguing for the sake of arguing.
Or like be more specific. What are the things you can juggle?
I think the things that you can juggle are, there are moral wrongs in certain cultures that have nothing to do with like physical stuff. So for example, in certain cultures, I'm trying to think of something. In certain cultures, a woman eating fish is morally wrong in that culture.
Yeah, it's a Hebrew, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where. I think was it India? I'm not quite sure. So there are certain cultures where a woman eating fish is viewed as morally wrong.
Right, yeah. It's
Because
like a set of religious rules.
Yeah, and because in that culture, I know there's other cultures where food is an example, is a way a person, basically what you take in, you become. So it's like food is an expression of morality, where say women will eat sweeter things and whatever, and dudes will eat different things. Those are purely based on they've got no leg to stand on except the culture that they come from and the vibe that they come from. Whereas beating the shit out of someone, right? That across the board is, I think it's a little bit easier to be able to judge. But at the same time, I'm sure there's fighting cultures where beating the shit out of someone is the way that you deal with issues.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, even in Italy, we have like a sport that is in Florence. I think is a kind of, I don't know if it is traditionally kept up to speed, actually, of people stopped doing it.
Right.
There is this football kind of game.
Actually, I need to see.
Did this stop recording?
Yeah, but anyway.
Violent football.
Violent
Yeah,
football.
it's basically a football game where they are allowed to hit each other, like punch each other in the face, and it's working like that. Sport.
So now, yeah, going. I'm still not quite sure about. No, I think I'm still. You haven't moved me in the argument
Of righteousness, right or wrong.
I said, but no, but I think, but I do think it's a lot more complex. But anyway, what I wanted to actually ask was, tell me about bachata. How did you start it? What do you love about it?
It's I think you had the question before as is there a moment that you're looking for in the bachata?
Oh, yeah. The question was, when you're doing bachata, is there a moment where you get so caught up into it?
I I think like I didn't answer you before because I think this is something that I would enjoy to tell.
And how do you not take someone home after that?
So you don't?
Yo, sign me up, bro. Joking, yeah.
Okay. First of all, my experience, to me, like this is something that I thought actually the whole argument, like the whole topic could be interesting for us to talk about. But as an expat here in Finland, I don't know if it is me or if it is because I'm Italian or whatever it is, but I probably do need a higher level of oxytocin release in my system than normal average Finnish people do, right? So that means physical contact,
Right.
touch. So in that sense, there was a moment I remember when, like the literal situation was that I was down, I was sad, and I was going with my electric scooter like on Töölölahti, this bay, and I passed by there and I saw them sometime before. By that time I noticed that there were people, it was summer, so people could leave outdoor at that time, not die of, froze, but there were people dancing bachata and salsa. And because I was sad, I was like, you know what? I'm not in a rush.
This was in Finland?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In Töölölahti. So nearby here, like not far away.
Right.
And in front of opera. And there's like a nice little patio where people dance. And I just stopped there and I was thinking, I'll just absorb this positivity because, people are smiling and dancing and you just feel happy. And so I wanted to just observe and take that positivity and make it mine and, compensate with the sadness I had inside and kind of be influenced by it. And then I was there, I was just, sitting there, observing and enjoying the view and the spectacle. And then a girl came to me and she was like, hey, do you want to dance? I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to. I don't dance, but I never done. And she was like, oh, that's a pity. You should come to classes. I was like, no, where is the school? Like, I just asked information. Then she got me, we got connected on Facebook. She got me the contact of the school and everything. And then a week later, I was in the school. I was like, let's give it a try.
Amazing.
And by going there, I realized how good that felt. But because I then sensual bachata, and it means like you have a lot of physical contact, like you're very close to each other, and you guide each other a lot. If you're leading, you to really guide the other person with your body. So you have this amazing feeling. At least for me, it was like it feels so good. Not just because there are a lot of sexy people in it. Not just that. I tell you, like it's really
I'm just about to start doing bachata now.
I'm convinced you. I'm working on that. You should come with me. And it's just like it's the amazing feeling of feeling in touch with someone and together moving is what I like to say about bachata is like a conversation. When you learn bachata, you're learning a language, right? And then you're talking. And that's the beautiful thing about bachata. You can go in different countries where people dance bachata. You know the language that they talk. You can come there and ask a person to dance without saying anything, and then you dance and you know what to do. Magically, you can conversate, right? It's like you really know a language in common, and then there is this beautiful connection you can create. Now, this is the moment you look for in bachata. Now, there is this general good feeling, and of course, you're in a community. The community here in Helsinki is amazing. It's very welcoming. It's very warm. Maybe because Helsinki doesn't have that big of a community. It's not like thousands and thousands of people, some hundreds, but it's very lovely. It's very loving as well. Everybody tries to kind of contribute in the way that they can.
Yeah.
Plus in Finland, people are very respectful and very this is one of the reasons why I love to live here. But anyway, it's like there is one situation that after you lived it in bachata scene, you want to go back to it as much as you can.
Really?
And that's like, to describe the process is not easy, but especially to who never danced bachata, but think about this, you learn to do some moves. Okay, so in your mind, in your, brain, mind, you're thinking and the brain is releasing substances. And so you're thinking about doing one move, and in the magic dance, that it made you feel so good. What happened is that you thought about doing a move and you actually did it. It worked well. Then you have this micro feedback from the other person, because in the situation where you're dancing together, you are the audience for the other person, and the other person is the audience for you.
That's beautiful.
So, and the audience gives you feedback that you want it or not. And sometimes it's not good. Sometimes it's awful. But when you find a person that maybe knows the same song or interprets the music in the same way, and then you can, you do a move and there's this good feedback. It makes you feel good when the audience claps.
Talking about sex.
It's like, well, there is much of a connection to it.
Right.
It's like this. Imagine like you are performing for an audience and the audience clap. You feel good. You feel this release of adrenaline and endorphin in your system. Then because of it, your brain allows your mind to work faster. Like it worked smoother, faster. It's just like more like, your adrenaline, like you're more in the moment, like everything seems to go slower and you can think more in the same amount of time. So then you have more time to think about the next move that you can actually do. And then you just do that. And again, positive feedback, reflection. And then again, the kick comes. So again, you can think faster. Again, you can keep that, and you keep that flow. And the magic comes when the other person has the same. She does something. Normally, like the follower does some decoration of the move, or maybe that they even ask for some move, right? So it's a conversation. It's not a monologue. It's a conversation, and both take part of it, right? So when then there is the feedback also from the other side, she does something. She react in the best way to a lead you gave, then that you want to know, you give this micro feedback to her, positive, and she feels it. And then there is this in both minds going faster and faster, being more excited and more excited and more excited, and keeping this flow continuously going up and up, amazing, more amazing, more amazing, more amazing, more amazing. And we are desired, like our brain is hardwired to desire things, not to get things, to desire things. We get 10 times more stimulation, neuroscience. So you desire a move, you get it. You desire another one, you get it. Desire another positive feedback, adrenaline. You think faster, you feel more powerful. You go up and up and up, and then you're there in this moment where you both feel in tune with the world and one another. Everything goes smoothly with the music and the resonance of all your world that is composed by you, the person, and the music in that moment. All seems amazing and perfect and in line with you. You feel to belong in that instant so greatly. And then when the song is finishes, you just wanna be there and be stuck in that beautiful and amazing thing, but you just can't. Like the music ends and stuff. So the only thing you can do for real politeness is like, it was amazing dance, thank you very much, and then you just need to go somewhere else and dance with someone else, and it's just it's marvelous. And when you feel that, then you understand why. Like I went to Rovigny Festival. It's in Croatia. It's one of the biggest festivals, but that now doesn't exist anymore. It was last time, because then the city says too much. So really, this year they don't do it. I hope that the next year maybe they will be able to arrange it. But they said it's too wild. It's crazy. It's thousands of people dancing bachata there in a city that is like 10,000 population strong. Okay, so it's not that big, and it's like lovely old city. But like when I went there, you could hear bachata everywhere. On the beach, a boat passes and there is bachata people dancing on it. There's like in front of the church. There is like in the main location on a villa there. It's like bachata everywhere for 7 days, 24/7. It's incredible. And so, the experience that you get there, you understand why people dance 24/7. Like there are literally people dancing until 11 in the morning. And, they closed the main location at 6 in the morning. They kept on dancing until 11 on the pier. They just moved somewhere, they put the speaker and they started to dance. And it's like a drug. If there is bachata people somewhere that they have experienced this, if they're in the same room, you bet they're going to dance.
Right.
Because it's just like, it's like a drug addict that is trying to go back to the same drug. But this is healthy because you cannot just get it. You need to do something to actually provoke this release of endorphins and adrenaline in your brain. So it's very good. And you're like just trying to go back to it all the time because it's just amazing. And everything in the process of going there, or like most of the things, feels good anyway. So why not to? But it's that instant, that feeling of connection with the other person, of deep, deep connection, resonance with the world that keeps people going till ever. They never stop until they can.
That is amazing. It sounds like something people who battle with loneliness should probably get involved in as well. I mean,
I was.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds really beautiful the way you describe it. It's as if you're describing the beauty of connection that humans crave. It's like this moment of fulfillment because I've done it before where I've craved that fulfillment through drinking alcohol or something, or just trying to be around people. But what you're talking about now, it seems a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like, why do people drink alcohol? Like, I
Yeah.
start to kind of, ask myself this, and also with, especially because here in Finland, people drink a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's different the culture than in Italy. But drinking alcohol is a sedative.
Yeah.
So many people are like, sedative? What? Huh? No, it actually gets me going more. Like, I'm more excited. No. Actually, it stops some part of your brain to work.
Yeah.
Especially in your frontal cortex. So you're more abstract thinking, consciousness, and so on. Like the newest part of your brain, evolutionarily speaking. And that allows you to enjoy more the rest, like the more primitive instinct. Those are active still and go. And the thing is, like, then you can be more in tune with the other people as well, right? Because you kind of all both kind of lower your barrier, means like you get to a stupider level together, right? And then you can enjoy more each other. They just laugh about things that maybe you would never laugh about normally.
No, it's true.
But you can
You're
just
so right.
laugh together about those things. And that feels good. That feels the feeling of togetherness with other people. Like to be in the same level, to feel the same things, feeling of belonging. That's what you crave. Like, I think that's my opinion. I don't have paper to certify what I'm saying, okay? But this is my thinking about it. It's just really, people drink mostly for that reason. And think about it, like, people drink the most in the countries where normally the culture is more individualistic.
You're so right. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So they crave that sense of togetherness more than, for example, in Italy.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, it does make sense. It's, at least I know here in Finland, for a lot of people, drinking is a way to like you said, dumb down the aspects of ourselves that likes to judge us. But by dumbing that down, we also dumb down the important, intelligent part of ourselves.
The self-control.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But I really love the story of how you describe bachata. I am actually planning on starting jiu-jitsu
nice.
class because I want to.
Strangle each other. Yeah.
I want to learn, because now that I'm posting some controversial shit online, I'm like, hey,
It's hard to defend myself.
I need to bloody learn how to defend myself. Okay,
So when are you gonna start?
what's that? I'm trying to start from next week, like going into start classes and all that sort of stuff. And lastly, I guess, so you're traveling. Tell me a little bit about your traveling plans, and then we'll have to end it there for now.
Then let me ask you a question now. I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Somehow I think that's something that could be very interesting also for whatever audience kind of listen to us, especially because I think that, well, we have experience in this, is to be expat in another country.
Yes.
And there is one positive thing about starting over in another country. We basically left our previous lives. Normally when one person moves to another country, it moves alone, maybe with a partner, but mostly alone, right?
Yeah.
So then you need to start from zero. You need to start to make new friends. You need to start to, find your bubble.
Yeah.
And I know that tendentiously people refer to the terms bubble and your bubble in a negative connotation, but I think that it has also a very positive connotation. And actually, maybe like it doesn't have a connotation when you think about it in a just not specific instance. It's like bubble, if we want to define it, is the people that you have interaction with, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on what job you do, what sport you do. It depends, your friends, groups, and where it's coming from, like all that, right? So that's your bubble. It's the people you interact with in your life. So when you move to a new country, you have a chance to rebuild your bubble. And that's a great opportunity, because then you can, this is one of the things that one friend of mine in Italy, we're in Albania for his wedding, and he told me this thing, like, and it stuck with me. We were talking, of course, marital and thing, you just got married, what does it mean, and so on, and so on. So he was like, well, you choose the people that are in your life, the people that you interact the most, you choose them.
Yeah.
And that's like a truth that I realized just then. I was like, oh, well, actually, it's in my power. I can choose those people. And by choosing those people, you choose what you are mostly influenced by, right? So you choose your own influences.
Yep.
That's a great power, right?
Yeah.
So when you move to a new country, like, okay, I want to be influenced by this kind of people, this kind of people, this kind of people, or this kind of influences and so on. Okay, nice, theoretically. But then what is your way to actually find those people that you would like to be influenced by? So how do you construct your own bubble in this country?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. I moved here for a woman, right? Originally. So when I first came here, my idea was that I had to be as self-sufficient as possible, as quickly as possible, to not put pressure on her. But I think it's fair to say that she was part of that bubble, of course.
She was the main character in the bubble.
But after we went our separate ways, and this is still something I feel like I'm still working through, is that trying to find community. I've been finding it a little bit difficult. Simply because, okay, number one, Finland is not a bastion of community. Like, it's not a great example of a country that's full of community.
Well, it's full of communities, but it's difficult to navigate through them.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure there's communities and whatever, but it's not something that you just see, you know?
Yeah.
Secondly, the only way I almost handicapped myself. The way I went out looking for community was to go out to bars. That was, especially in the beginning after I'd split up and then trying to find my own way. The times when I felt like I could talk to people or that people wanted to talk back to me was at the bar. So I would do that quite a lot. I used to go out to bars quite a lot. And that was the way I tried to get connections. But as time went on, I think I realized more and more that, the connections that I believe I had were actually superficial, not as solid as I'd hoped or thought. And some of it was my fault in terms of me not going out of my way to reach out to people and that sort of stuff. So that was quite hard to realize. I was like, okay, so the moments of being drunk with a bunch of people and whatnot, it's actually not real connection.
It's the perception.
It's the perception of connection. And yet here in Finland, so many people grew up together and so many people have been born at the same time and shit like that. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, how do you guys know each other? Oh yeah, we were born at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people. Yeah, we're like a kindergarten together. I was like, what?
Right. So now for me, I've realized that I am going out of my way to create my own community, where I've got some plans because I know what it's like to feel lonely, right? I know what it's like to feel like there's no one to connect with, no one to touch, no one to really vibe with. So to answer your question, going forward, I made a decision that, okay, I'm going to go out of my way to have conversations with people. So, hello, I'm going to try create